Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports on Forever Sports. We're joined by myself, Mark and Reece alongside me. We just finished FP3 and an interesting session, not to say the least. We finally saw the pace of the McLarens and the Mercedes. Of course, Russell up there in first, a 134.0, and Piastri in second, a 134.49. However, we had a red flag right at the end of the session from Alex Albon, who did hit the wall eventually in section 3 rather, and he did have a puncture and the tyre did fall off later on, resulting in a red flag to that session right at the end there, so we could not resume it. And we didn't get to see a couple of final laps from other drivers across the board, but certainly ramping up to be a very interesting qualifying session later.
Yes, there's a lot of drivers that are all set to be within contention for those top spots. We didn't get runs from the Ferraris, unfortunately. Charles Leclerc was on a run at the end, had set the fastest middle sector, and then, unfortunately, that red flag was called for Alex Albon hitting the wall and causing a puncture for himself. But at the moment, our top three is George Russell all the way at the top with a 134.093. Oscar Piastri in second with a 134.491. And then Logan Sargent in third with a 134.645.
Yeah, and the fact that Logan Sargent's up there in third is going to be quite interesting, because I think that means that Williams has definitely got a bit of pace for qualifying, but should mean that we'll see a lot quicker times from most of the drivers across the grid. Certainly looking at the 133s during qualifying, as George Russell got very close to doing it anyway. But going from the back to the front, let's go through our session in terms of the best times we saw from all of them. Of course, these are not necessarily their best times. This is just a simple practice session, so some of the simulations might have been quite a bit different. Don't necessarily take this as an indicative time of pace as we go through this. So Daniel Ricciardo down in 20th position at 137.7, his best lap from that session. Gasly's in 19th, Tsunoda in 18th, Sainz and Leclerc in 17th and 16th, as they did not complete any proper laps on soft tyres, only on medium tyres. They were pretty much the quickest on the mediums though, so that's good to see from them. Zhou in 15th, Ocon 14th, Lance Stroll in 13th, Hülkenberg in 12th, Lando Norris not having the best session for himself, even though his teammate put in a good time, couldn't get a decent time for himself, down there in 11th. Going to our top 10.
Yes, then 10th place is Kevin Magnussen with a 130.67. Then Bottas in 9th, Hamilton not having the greatest day out there in 8th compared to his teammate Russell all the way up in that top spot. Then Alonso in P7, Albon in P6, Perez in P5, Verstappen in P4. They didn't get their best lap times down at the end, but they should still have a bit of pace in hand come qualifying later. And then, of course, our top three being Sargent, Piastri, and George Russell in that top spot.
Yeah, so I mean, we've looked at this session. Are there certain things that we found out about the race or qualifying that are going to interest us, or do we think that it's still all up in the air?
Well, I think it is pretty certain that the Ferraris are going to take those top spots, but it didn't show their hand until really late. And then, unfortunately, because of that red flag, didn't get to complete their final laps. But I think they're going to have the best pace overall in qualifying.
Exactly that. I think Charles Leclerc, if he did finish up his lap, he would have gone the new fastest lap by quite some distance, because we did see a purple sector in Sector 2 from him right at the end, just before that yellow flag, of course, from Alex Albon. So the Ferraris certainly should be possibly the quickest cars out on track. Are we concerned about the Red Bulls, who could still not, after putting in what were clearly quality simulations a little bit with DRS open on those soft tyres, only finished in 4th and 5th? Of course, they did do it a lot earlier than most of the drivers, but is there concern?
No.
No concern.
No concern.
Okay, no concern. So we expect the Red Bulls to compete right up there in qualifying, as we always do. Probably not showing all their pace quite just yet. So no concern in that Red Bull garage, Reece reckons. And the Mercedes
They'll
engines...
be concerned later this evening if they're not in the top 10.
Yeah. The Mercedes engines, of course, did a lot better this session, with Russell, Piastri in first and second. Alonso did quite well yesterday as well. Also, he wasn't too far off down there in 7th. And the Williams, of course, is in 3rd with Sargent and Alex Albon in 6th. So I think it's all up in the air in terms of who finishes in more or less in that mid top 10. I think we could see a lot of drivers there and thereabouts. But for that very top spot, who are you backing for the top 3?
I'm going to say Charles Leclerc all the way at the top. Then Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz.
So you're saying the Red Bull's going to split the two Ferraris?
Yes.
Well, I think I'm going to do a different bit of a prediction here. And funny enough, I'm going to say Charles Leclerc is going to finish first. Sainz will be in second. And I'm going to back, and this is a scary one, Russell in 3rd. I'm going to say Verstappen only finishes in 4th. I reckon the Red Bulls, for all that they will have a lot of pace, I think they've not been showing their hands too much, and probably too little in these two sessions that we have had. They've not finished very high up. I could be very wrong, of
will be the largest event of the year. There's a launch party from Wednesday to Sunday, almost a week long of events and musical acts. You know, you're seeing sports figures from other sports having their own kind of side viewing parties. A lot of the high prices, though, frankly comes from the costs that are not entirely ours. I'm not begrudging our partners, but you know, 5-night minimums in hotels and things like that helped push up the costs. Not all of it's just been pricing of tickets. The experience of that, and frankly the fact that there's been so much demand, is what drives it. Well, the demand has certainly not been there in the last few weeks, as the ticket prices have been falling by almost 80% for certain days, and we're certainly hoping to get great viewings for this Grand Prix race weekend, but you have to think of the residents who have been affected by the lead up to this Grand Prix race weekend. Of course, next year should be a little bit less of a disruption for the residents, as all of the pit lanes and pit buildings have at least been constructed, but we have to ask in the future how to minimize the effect on the residents in Las Vegas. We're certainly looking forward to this race weekend. It should provide some great racing for us. Of course, though, with those low temperatures being expected, that could put a bit of a spanner in the works. Do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content. And do be sure to let us know in the comment section who you are supporting for this Las Vegas Grand Prix race weekend. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.
Hello everybody, Stevie P here from Forever Sports, and I'm here to tell you about BOYLESPORTS, the official betting partner of Forever Sports. Across all of our channels, they are one of the leading betting companies in the world and have recently launched in South Africa with an amazing offering. You can get a 1,000 Rand welcome offer. For the rugby, they are giving you 25% payout boost up to 2,000 Rand on the Springboks winning the World Cup, as well as an extra 50 Rand bet when you stake 250 more on rugby during the Rugby World Cup. It is your one-stop betting shop. That is BOYLESPORTS. Come and join us in the community. Check the links in the description to sign up, get yourself an account, and make sure that you are winning big with BOYLESPORTS.
Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. The cold conditions expected when the cars take to the track on Thursday evening in Las Vegas are set to provide Formula 1 teams with an intriguing challenge. This weekend is predicted to be possibly the coldest Grand Prix since the Canadian Grand Prix in 1978, with temperatures for the race ranging from 5 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius. Before we get into the video today, be sure to like it and subscribe to the channel so that you can get notified with all of the latest Formula 1 news. With potentially the coldest race Formula 1 has ever seen being hosted on Sunday, teams will need to ensure that they can get the 3 Pirelli compounds to work effectively. But the unusually low temperatures will also have a significant impact on overall car cooling, and hence the aero specifications that the teams will be running. As such, the challenge is very different from that in recent races in Qatar and Mexico City. Compared to the latter, where the thin air requires maximum cooling, Vegas will be at the opposite extreme. And while it is obvious that modern hybrid V6 power units don't like running in too hot conditions, equally they are not designed to operate in extreme cold. While Formula 1 cars run in chilly winter testing and filming days in Europe, the difference is that Vegas is a competitive event, which means that there can be no compromises in terms of power unit usage. The ultra-long main straight that runs along the strip will present its own challenges. Much like Baku, it will ensure that the brakes and tyres will be potentially colder than optimum when the cars reach the corner at the end of it. Just to add to the fun though, as with any street circuit, there's only so much detail that the teams have been able to incorporate into their simulations, in terms of bumps and the exact nature of the newly laid surface, which remains something of an unknown. "It is tough," said Williams head of vehicle performance, Dave Robson. "I think that the combination of the track surface, which we know very little about, and how that will interact with the tyres will dictate so much of how the weekend plans out. In terms of the layout of the track, we've got a good understanding of that, and we can run it in the simulator and get a rough idea. Going to a new track like that, one of the main things will be that we go with a clear starting position. But we also have a whole host of options lined up, ready to cover whatever actually happens. Certainly we can't predict exactly how the car will behave in Vegas, so we will go there with plenty of options. Other teams agree that it is something of a step into the unknown. It does look like it's going to be cold, said Alpine head of trackside engineering, Chiron Pilbeam. We don't really know how cold it's going to get. It's a new circuit, which is always interesting. We will do our usual pre-event simulation work and simulator work, but we never quite know what you're going to get. There's always some variations in how bumpy it is, or what track surface is like. That kind of thing. We'll do everything we can before the event, but we can't do everything. We need to go in there prepared to learn in the first couple of practice sessions. Tyre management has been one of the keys to the 2023 season, and as recently as the Brazilian Grand Prix, we saw huge discrepancies between the teams that got it right for the race, notably Red Bull and Aston Martin, and those that got it wrong, such as Mercedes. Teams usually have a narrow operating window in which they can get the tyres to work, and finding that sweet spot in Vegas, with mechanical setup and outlap preparations, among other variables, might not be so straightforward. Firing them up after safety car periods will also be a special challenge with the cold conditions. In terms of the tyres, it rarely is taking them into a different environment, said Red Bull chief engineer Paul Monaghan. A few years ago, we went to the Nürburgring in October, and it was wet and cold every day. And Austin a few years ago, I remember one day was particularly freezing cold. We get into all the concerns of cold cracking, handling the tyres, all this type of thing. And yes, they are very much at the lower end of their operating range. So, within the sort of freedoms that we have, with the wheel bodywork, as we now call it, and trying to operate the car, it is up to us to try and get the tyres to a point where they can work. And the challenge is there for all of us. I think that's across all three compounds. They're all going to be too cold. It's really a case of can we get all of them into the window for long enough that we can run a decent race stint. As Monaghan indicates, there's a relationship between tyres and aero specifications in terms of what he defines as the wheel bodywork, brake ducts and other parts in that area. But obviously the conditions will have a substantial impact on all other areas of the car. For Qatar and or Mexico, most teams brought extra louvres, or opened up the Coke bottle at the rear of the car to aid with cooling. You would think that would encourage teams to focus on low drag for better straight line speed, but it is not necessarily that straightforward. It's not really an aero gain, it is more about managing the power unit and the gearbox and keeping all of those other things in their operating window, says Alpine trackside engineer Chiron Pilbeam. But we are ready for that. It could be like winter testing, it could be that cold. It's hard to know exactly what we're going to find when we get there. There's times in winter testing when you need to blank out the radiators a bit, which you wouldn't normally design for your car. It could be those kind of conditions, but I think we're ready for it. The operating window is much wider than it used to be, covering between that sort of temperature. And what we saw in Qatar, it is a very wide operating temperature range. Monaghan agrees that teams should be able to adjust to what is required. I'm not too worried about sorting the car cooling out, to be honest, he said. I don't think it will be that bad. We ran our first promotional day back in February this year, and I was sitting there shivering at Silverstone, wishing I wasn't there, and we could still make it run. We'll see some more closed up cars. Maybe some people will alter the cooling exits towards the back at the top body, which will shrink it down a little bit. Teams will have to juggle the complex relationship between cooling and downforce levels. Previously, we'd have probably made a new small cooling package and traded in the cooling we didn't need for downforce, and there may have been a few other things on the car that we would have done. But now we've got to say, well, is it worth doing that? Particularly as you get towards the end of the season. That may depend on how much attrition and expense you'd had to spend in the previous months. I think it's quite a good example of how in a cost cap world do you choose to optimize the package for that particular weekend, because the parts you could make, you probably won't use anywhere else. And in part, that depends on what you think the other guys will do. So the whole thing becomes quite a nice little game theory problem. We're certainly looking forward to the Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend, and it will be very interesting to see which teams are able to get their setups into the right window in the cold and tricky conditions. Be sure to let us know in the comment section what you think of these cold conditions that are predicted for the Las Vegas Grand Prix, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece and today we'll be speaking about Bernie Ecclestone slamming Formula 1 over the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The former Formula 1 Supremo Bernie Ecclestone is not one of those looking forward to the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix this weekend. Here's what he had to say ahead of the race in Nevada. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest Formula 1 news. Former Formula 1 Supremo Bernie Ecclestone has slated the Las Vegas Grand Prix and claims it has nothing to do with Formula 1. The sport arrives in Nevada for the inaugural running of the race, its first visit to Sin City since the 1982 Caesars Palace Grand Prix, with drivers set to race past the world-famous hotels and casinos on the Strip. With Formula 1 leading the promotion of the event, the hype for the race has been huge. And given its aim to further boost popularity in the United States, an opening ceremony will be held on Wednesday before driver introductions return ahead of the Grand Prix. Bernie Ecclestone was instrumental in exceeding Formula 1's reach around the world. But speaking to NOS ahead of Las Vegas Grand Prix, he said that I'm not really looking forward to it. Why not? It has nothing to do with Formula 1, he said. Ecclestone is reportedly not happy with Formula 1's expansion. Formula 1's expansion has seen it reach new countries, particularly in the Middle East, with Qatar and Saudi Arabia among the newer races on the calendar. Having played his part in the sport's worldwide expansion, Ecclestone insisted, "I am happy that the sport continues to develop around the world. I am the one who brought Formula 1 out of Europe to the rest of the world. We are competing for a world championship, not a European championship. It is good that that remains the case." Interesting to hear that Bernie Ecclestone is happy that Formula 1 is moving further away from the European races, but is not happy to see Formula 1 going to Las Vegas this weekend. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I know a lot of other Formula 1 fans are certainly looking forward to it. Let us know what you think of Ecclestone's comments down in the comment section below, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.
Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula 1 season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece. Today we're going to be talking about the Formula 1 legend Ross Brawn, who has issued a crash warning ahead of the spectacular Las Vegas Grand Prix this race weekend. But before we get into that, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified every time we upload the latest Formula 1 news. Former Formula 1 chief Ross Brawn has warned that the sport may have failed to properly consider the risks posed by the chilly temperatures set to plague the Las Vegas Grand Prix, meaning drivers could be in more danger of crashing. With wheel-to-wheel action in the famous city just 5 days away, Brawn has highlighted how the decision to host the race at 10 PM local time could mean that the sport sees the coldest race in Grand Prix history. The timing was chosen to cater to Formula 1's European fan base, but could result in temperatures as low as 4 or 5 degrees. And that factor, combined with the long straights and lack of corners, could leave drivers unable to get heat into their tyres, increasing the risk of crashes. Brawn went on to say, "The one thing we hadn't considered initially, but the tyre company have dealt with it, is that it gets very, very cold at night. So it could be really quite cold, and of course, getting the cars to work in these temperatures can be quite a challenge. The tyre companies have done some work to make sure that the tyres can cope with that, but we're definitely facing some new challenges, which we've never had before, but I think it will be spectacular." Is Brawn right to be concerned? Mercedes have echoed Brawn's concerns about this circuit, which has 3 long straights and 17 corners, suggesting that it could take longer than usual for drivers to get heat into their tyres, especially in the qualifying sessions. It'll just depend on exactly how cold it is, because if the track is down in single figures, that's often a region where you go in winter testing, said Andrew Chauvelin, Mercedes trackside engineer. You do run, and it's either very difficult for the tyres to get switched on, or there may be graining and other things. And then sometimes you just wait until it warms up a bit, so actually having to race and qualify in these conditions will be very interesting. You can just try and identify risks with the new circuit, work out what your contingencies will be, whether you need any sort of specific car spec to deal with that, and we're going to do that at the moment. But as I said, if it's at the very cold end of predictions, it's going to be difficult to know how the tyres are going to work. It's certainly going to provide some interesting spectacles for us this race weekend. Will we get a lot of crashes this race weekend due to the fact that the temperatures are going to be so low, or will we get the teams and engineers figuring out some kind of solution for these cold temperatures? We'll have to wait and see what does happen this weekend at the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're certainly very, very excited for that to get going, and I'm sure all of you down in the comment section are going to be equally as excited as I am as well. Do be sure to let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are ahead of this Grand Prix race weekend, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece, and today we'll be speaking about Toto Wolff enforcing a gambling ban on the Mercedes staff at the Las Vegas Grand Prix race weekend. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date on all of the latest Formula 1 news. Toto Wolff will put a gambling ban in place at Mercedes throughout the Las Vegas Grand Prix race weekend, with the focus remaining on the task at hand. Formula 1 heads to Vegas for the first time in 41 years this weekend, and anticipation is high as the city's roads are being turned into a new circuit. But while the casinos are aplenty in Sin City, Wolff has said that they will make sure that the Mercedes staff do not partake in Vegas's gambling culture while they are there. The race has been heavily marketed as Formula 1 prepares to return to Las Vegas, with quirky features added to the circuit, such as playing card suit motifs on the curbs, along with a licensed wedding chapel being put in place for people to get married in the F1 paddock. But even though Las Vegas holds a reputation as one of the gambling capitals of the world, Wolff will keep a tight rein on his Mercedes staff in that regard. "I think everybody is looking forward to the Vegas Grand Prix," Wolff said. "Racing in the city is comparable to climbing Everest. Hats off to Liberty Media for organising this event. I don't think I'm the only one in Formula 1 who has never been to the city, which is quite difficult to get around. We don't know how we're going to get from the hotel to the circuit and back, but I'm sure we'll find a solution. I can't wait for the race weekend to start." As I've said, I've never been to Las Vegas. but we'll do our best to make sure everybody in the team stays away from the casinos. I don't gamble, and I'll make sure no one else gambles either. Toto Wolff has some work on his hands this weekend to keep his staff and his drivers away from the casinos in Las Vegas, which will certainly be a difficult thing to do because there are so many of them around this city. But we're certainly really looking forward to getting under the lights in the Las Vegas Strip. Do be sure to drop a comment down below letting us know your excitement for this weekend and letting us know who you are rooting for. And be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well while you're there. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece, and Formula One's biggest stars can find out why Las Vegas has its name Sin City. Because one of Nevada's brothels is opening its doors and offering each driver free sex ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But before we get any further into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest Formula One news. Famous Chicken Ranch brothel workers Addison Gray and Alice Little are really excited to welcome the race to their home turf for the first time since 1982. And they want to make sure every driver leaves Vegas happy. We're told the licensed sex workers are offering a special one-on-one session at no charge for all of the guys on the grid, just in case they want to see some action prior to Saturday's race. It's Formula One fever in Las Vegas this month, and we're all psyched up for the big event, Little told us. Any driver that wants to get their hearts racing and celebrate the Formula One with me and Addison will be treated to 100% complimentary coitus. Drivers aren't the only ones getting perks, as Gray and Little said that they're also giving a 50% off deal for anyone flocking to the desert for the Formula One festivities. Our discount will help Vegas visitors and residents blow off some steam with a couple of generous ladies so that they can chill out during the race weekend, Little said. And we're here to provide some well-oiled appreciation. Gray said that the Grand Prix also needs a little bit of spice anyway, especially since they stopped using grid girls years ago. Since Formula One banned their fabulous grid girls in 2018, the events have been overwhelmingly lacking in much-needed sex appeal, Gray said. Our discount isn't just a leisure of love for Formula One, it's an invitation for fans to revel in an experience where sex appeal is celebrated, not sidelined. Because in our world, glamour isn't forbidden, it's the star of the show. Well, I'm sure now we've already seen a bit of a gambling ban from Mercedes boss Toto Wolff. I'm sure there's going to be a brothel ban now also on the cards for the Mercedes team, as well as I'm sure for a lot of the other Formula One teams down in the Formula One paddock. But, well, if drivers do feel like blowing off some steam, and any other Formula One fans, they have the opportunity to do that this race weekend at the Chicken Ranch brothel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Be sure to let us know in the comment section what you think of this, and be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. I've been Reece on Forever.
Hello and welcome to Forever Sports. My name is Reece. I'll be talking to you a little bit today about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. BITDEFENDER is a global leader in cyber security. BITDEFENDER is committed to defending people all around the globe against cyber attacks, as well as to transform people's digital experiences. In the next 6 months, Forever Sports will be covering major tournaments such as the Rugby Championship, the Premier League, the remainder of the Formula One season, as well as embarking on the biggest Rugby World Cup YouTube campaign ever. To ensure that these are all a success, it is imperative that the Forever Sports channels and platforms remain uncompromised. And with BITDEFENDER, we can be assured that our cybersecurity needs are being taken care of. To read more on BITDEFENDER, please be sure to check the links in the description of our video. Once again, thank you very much to our partner, BITDEFENDER, for joining the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Sports. Thank you very much.
Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. In this video today we'll be taking a look at the new race suits that Ferrari have revealed ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But before we do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest Formula 1 news. Ferrari took to X.com today to reveal special race suits ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. In their post, where they shared images of the drivers in their new race suits, they went on and said, "Special race, special colours. Fits check for the Las Vegas Grand Prix." Their new race suits are a simplified version of their usual red, black and white race suits, featuring only red and white for this race weekend, as well as having their race number featured on their back. The new race suits are also accompanied by new white and red racing boots for the drivers. In the post, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz were pictured at a media shoot in their new Las Vegas race suits. They could also be seen wearing new Ferrari caps, which could be Ferrari teasing new merchandise that could be available for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. They're certainly looking ready to get going for the Las Vegas Grand Prix, but we'll have to wait and see if they can get their new race suits onto the podium on Sunday. Let us know in the comment section what you think of Ferrari's new race suits. And be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece and today we'll be talking about Max Verstappen's new helmet that he has revealed ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But before we do get into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when we upload videos about all of the latest Formula 1 news. To get into it here today, Formula 1 returns next week in Vegas for the return of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Max Verstappen, who has been vocally uninterested in the Vegas Grand Prix, went onto social media today to reveal his new helmet ahead of the Grand Prix weekend. Max Verstappen has said previously that, first of all, I think we are going there more for the show than for the racing itself. I'm going there, I'm doing my thing, and I'm out again. Despite his disinterest, he has revealed a striking new helmet design for himself ahead of the Vegas Grand Prix weekend. His striking new helmet design, which is majority white in colour, features neon yellow accents, with gambling and Vegas themed designs, along with his signature line on top in neon yellow. It is certainly a design that is not going to be missed out on the racetrack under the lights in Las Vegas, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all of the other designs that are released by the drivers ahead of the Grand Prix race weekend. Be sure to let us know in the comment section what you think of Max's design, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece and today we'll be speaking about AlphaTauri's new livery that they have revealed for the Las Vegas Grand Prix as well as the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest Formula 1 news. AlphaTauri has unveiled an alternate car livery that it will use for the final 2 rounds of the Formula 1 season. Starting from this weekend's event in Las Vegas, the AT04 will run a striped design around the engine cover and side pod area of the car. The livery will stay on the Challenger for next weekend's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which will conclude the Formula 1 campaign. The design has been inspired by the squad's collaboration with Brendan Monroe and his Las Vegas capsule collection. AlphaTauri enters the weekend challenging Williams for 7th in the Constructors' Championship after scoring points at the last 3 race weekends. Its late season resurgence comes after it occupied the bottom of the standings for much of the year. Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda will be behind the wheel of the alternately designed AlphaTauri at the final 2 Grand Prix, with the duo also contracted to compete for the team once again next season. The design that AlphaTauri are using for this race weekend is certainly quite striking and will be very fitting for Daniel Ricciardo, I'm sure. I'm waiting for his helmet design to be revealed for this weekend. I'm sure he'll be going with something very striking and very Vegas inspired as well. Be sure to let us know in the comment section what you think of AlphaTauri's Vegas themed car. As well as be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. My name is Reece and today we'll be doing a helmet review over all of the drivers' helmets for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you can stay up to date with all of the latest Formula 1 news. The inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix is here. The event is shaping up to be a true Vegas spectacle, both on and off the track, with race promoters, drivers and teams alike promising blazing speed and plenty of overtaking. The battle on the track will be fierce, with themed helmets becoming a growing part of Formula 1. This season alone has seen some spectacular efforts from drivers, so you might not be too surprised then to see the drivers upping the ante for the inaugural Las Vegas event. Max Verstappen, the three-time world champion, was the first out of the gates to reveal his helmet for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. He revealed a neon-inspired helmet for the neon capital of the world, being Vegas. In his helmet, you can see, of course, brightly coloured neon all over the place, with Vegas-inspired quips such as playing cards and poker chips as well. Alpine driver Esteban Ocon unveiled his themed helmet for the Las Vegas Grand Prix on Wednesday. However, unlike Verstappen, Ocon did not lean in to the Vegas theme. Instead, he paid tribute to one of his team's new owners, actor Ryan Reynolds, with his Deadpool-themed helmet for this weekend's Vegas Grand Prix. It certainly is one of my favourites heading into this weekend. Quite a different helmet and very, very cool looking for sure. Next up, we had Lando Norris. The McLaren driver is known for some of the better themed helmets, including his beach ball helmet that he brought to the Miami Grand Prix earlier this season. His Vegas Grand Prix design though? Snakes. Of course, we're racing out in the desert this weekend, so what better than for snakes on his helmet? Very interesting. I'm not necessarily a big fan of snakes, but Lando Norris will be racing around with a snake-inspired helmet for this Las Vegas Grand Prix. Norris's teammate Oscar Piastri has teamed up with Google and has unveiled a dark chrome version of his helmet for this weekend's Vegas Grand Prix. He dropped it on Wednesday with a nod to the team's relationship with Google Chrome. He went onto Twitter to say, "My awesome Google Chrome Dark Mode special helmet for this Las Vegas Grand Prix." In collaboration with Google, he has unveiled a black helmet with the Google Chrome livery all over that. Very cool, and of course, we'll see him racing with that this weekend. And then the last driver to unveil his helmet was Fernando Alonso. He has unveiled a chrome helmet with playing cards on the back and a few touches of Las Vegas. So that has been it for this helmet review. Very, very exciting to see all of these drivers unveiling their helmets ahead of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I'm sure we will get a few more drivers unveiling some helmets before we get onto track tomorrow evening, but as of today, this has been all of the helmets that have been unveiled so far. Do be sure to let me know in the comment section which is your favourite helmet. I think mine, I'm very much leaning towards Esteban Ocon's Deadpool-themed helmet. I think it's really cool. It's not just a Vegas-themed helmet as we've seen from everyone else, but I think second to that would be probably Lando Norris's snake-themed helmet. I'm not a big fan of snakes, but it is, once again, a very cool helmet for Lando Norris. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.
Hello everybody, Stevie P here from Forever Sports, and I'm here to tell you about BOYLESPORTS, the official betting partner of Forever Sports. Across all of our channels, they are one of the leading betting companies in the world and have recently launched in South Africa with an amazing offering. You can get a 1,000 Rand welcome offer. For the rugby, they are giving you 25% payout boost up to 2,000 Rand on the Springboks winning the World Cup, as well as an extra 50 Rand bet when you stake 250 more on rugby during the Rugby World Cup. It is your one-stop betting shop. That is BOYLESPORTS. Come and join us in the community. Check the links in the description to sign up, get yourself an account, and make sure that you are winning big with BOYLESPORTS.
Welcome to the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix. Formula 1 takes to the streets of Sin City this weekend. and it is set to be a spectacle. The 6.1 kilometer long street circuit is the third longest circuit on the calendar, and is nestled into the heart of Las Vegas, with the star of the show being a 2 kilometer long straight down the Vegas Strip, which will see the drivers reaching speeds of around 350 kilometers an hour. Prior to 2023, the only other time a Formula 1 Grand Prix has been held in Las Vegas was in 1981 and 1982, and for those 2 years it was called the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, with a temporary circuit being set up in the parking lot of the Caesars Palace Hotel and Casino. This race is set to be the highlight of the season, with multiple teams revealing special liveries as well as drivers bringing one-off helmets for the race weekend. This weekend also saw the first opening ceremony for an F1 race, being kicked off by bands and singers, before introducing all of the Formula 1 drivers. The 6.2 kilometer long circuit is a thrilling neon-fueled ride that takes drivers through the heart of Sin City. The circuit runs anti-clockwise, featuring 17 corners and a 1.92 kilometer long straight, making it one of the fastest tracks on the Formula 1 calendar, with average speeds set to be comparable to Italy's Monza. The start-finish line and turns 1 to 4 are situated in a former parking lot that Formula 1 purchased for a whopping $240 million, and transformed into a state-of-the-art pit and paddock area. As drivers exit that area and head to Coval Lane, they will experience a 1 kilometer long straight from turns 4 until they reach a hard braking zone at Westchester Drive in turn 5. Turns 6, 7, 8 and 9 will take drivers around the newly opened MSG Sphere, before accelerating down Sands Avenue to turn 12. Between turns 12 and 14, the track offers a 1.92 kilometer long straight that provides drivers with stunning views of the Las Vegas Boulevard, aka the Las Vegas Strip, including the Venetian, the Mirage, Caesars Palace, the Eiffel Tower at Paris, Las Vegas, and the Bellagio fountains. Finally, the circuit will travel along East Harmon Avenue from turns 14 to 17, before the left kink of turn 17 takes it back to the start-finish line. It is certainly set to be an interesting weekend, with temperatures expected to be in the single digits for the race on Saturday evening. This could make things tricky for the drivers with regards to getting their tyres up to temperature. For this weekend, Pirelli are bringing the softest range of tyres, with the C5, the C4 and the C3 compounds. Hopefully this will allow drivers to get their tyres up to temperature. And just to spice things up, rain is also predicted for the race. Watch now as you get taken around a lap of the Las Vegas Grand Prix circuit. Let us know down in the comment section who you are supporting for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We hope to see you during our coverage of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the fact that Charles Leclerc has reportedly restarted negotiations with Ferrari over his contract for 2025 and beyond. But before we get into the news today, do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula One content. Charles Leclerc begins his Ferrari contract negotiations with the Maranello outfit. Formula One news outlets might be focused on Charles Leclerc's difficult weekend in Brazil, but contract talks for 2024 and beyond have begun. Charles Leclerc currently occupies 7th place in the Formula One standings, which is certainly a tough pill for the Monegasque to swallow. Misfortune and missed opportunities have plagued his 2023 season. Aside from his current points total, there are other consequences to the 25-year-old's difficult spell. As the season draws to a close, Ferrari is working to convince the 5-time race winner to sign a contract extension with the team. Like many drivers, Leclerc's contract expires at the end of 2024. This means that for next year's transfer market, it could be quite dynamic. For the Italian team, however, the objective will be to avoid any drama with their current driver pairing. Carlos Sainz is also without a contract for the end of 2024, meaning that Ferrari has 2 deals to negotiate with their drivers. It goes without saying though that Ferrari wants to secure Leclerc for the long term. Having risen through the junior categories into Formula One via the Ferrari Academy, the relationship between Leclerc and the Scuderia outfit is well established. Over the last 5 seasons, Leclerc can be attributed with several moments of brilliance with the team. Although his qualifying prowess is often highlighted, performances such as Bahrain in 2022 and Silverstone in 2021 are examples of his abilities during races. According to recent reports, Ferrari has started contract negotiations with Leclerc. This was always expected to happen, with a fast approaching winter break and opportunity for teams to discuss the future with their drivers. On paper, both parties want the partnership to work. The Italian outfit hasn't won a championship for over a decade, and they believe that Leclerc can be the driver to end this drought. On the Monegasque side, there's no secret for his affinity for Ferrari. Until now, there have been no serious conversations with rival teams for a shock move. Moreover, there aren't many alternatives in the market. Red Bull, McLaren and Mercedes aren't realistic options for Charles Leclerc. For all of Ferrari's difficulties, there are only a handful of teams that would represent a forward step. At least until the Formula One regulations change. The Maranello-based team should be a front-running team. Still, it will be crucial to observe if there are any announcements over the winter break. If an agreement is reached, it then silences any potential speculation. Though if Leclerc waits until the start of next year to sign a contract, this doesn't necessarily mean a switch is imminent. What it does signify, however, is that Ferrari must prove that they are progressing. This isn't necessarily to keep the 26-year-old at Maranello until 2025. As mentioned previously, it is unlikely that he'll switch teams before the next regulation change. But Ferrari want to ensure that Leclerc can have confidence in their project. Otherwise, they risk only agreeing to a short-term contract with him, which could leave their star driver on the market for 2026. It will certainly be very interesting to see what Charles Leclerc does decide to do over his contract negotiations for 2025 and beyond. Does he sign a 1-year contract extension with the team, or does he go and show his confidence in the team for the future and sign a multi-year deal with him? We'll have to wait and see what news comes out over the next coming weeks and months with Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, but we certainly hope that he does stay with the team until the future. That has been it for today's video here on Forever Motorsports. Do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula One content. I've been Reece here on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports. You're joined by myself, Mark, and Reece is alongside me as well for this, the F1 podcast, of course, in the week of Las Vegas. And it's going to be a chock-a-block full week in terms of news, in terms of stuff that's going to be happening for Las Vegas. Of course, it's a dramatic return to the Las Vegas circuit. Lots of stories to talk about today in the podcast, of course, with regards to the disaster that it has been throughout the entire year leading up to it, the last couple of years. possible disasters that we'll have during the weekend because of what we basically had to put down to poor planning. And all these other various things that we need to talk about. But before we get there, of course, let's talk about our sponsors, BitDefender and BoyleSports. BitDefender, of course, for all of your cybersecurity needs. Be sure to go and check them out as well. And then BoyleSports, our other partner today, for the week, will be sponsoring this weekend's Grand Prix with a very special sign-on bonus and a couple of things that you guys can do as part of the BoyleSports link that you'll find in the description of the video. So please be sure to go and check out BoyleSports, and you can get this. Bet 50 Rand on the Vegas Grand Prix and get 20 extra spins for every 50 Rand you bet in any of the slots, in any of those sort of games on the BoyleSports app. Be sure to go check it out. It's an awesome little promotion that they've got there exclusively with us, Forever Motorsports. So be sure to go and check that out. Of course, Las Vegas, the home of betting and poker and all other betting games. BoyleSports, of course, a betting company, is also doing something fun for it with us, so in association with us. So be sure to go and check them out. And of course, like the video and subscribe to the channel as we go back, of course, to the news that is Las Vegas Grand Prix. So, we've got the Las Vegas Grand Prix coming up this week, and it is possibly going to be one of the best races we've seen, or one of the worst races we've seen with regards to, it could be incredible entertainment, but at the same time, a disaster in terms of actual racing. Lots of memes have been released, obviously, in the last few weeks with regards to the track looking like Spider-Pig from The Simpsons, and all these other various things, but what we really want to focus on straight away is that pit lane exit straight into turn 1 and the potential disasters that could happen there.
Yes, just reading an article here from WTF1. Earlier this week, Formula 1 unveiled some new Las Vegas Grand Prix building photos. And well, there was one thing that really stood out to fans. Was it the huge Formula 1 sign? No. Was it the extraordinary lighting? Also no. But it was the pit lane exit. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is this weekend. After a whole year of promo and tremendous build-up, it is finally here. A new track, a new city, albeit one that's hosted Formula 1 before, and some unexpected challenges, such as low temperatures, may just throw up entertaining, maybe even chaotic races. Fans will be eager to see how it plays out, but there's one thing that has sparked concern. The newly released photos of the $240 million pit building highlighted a potentially tricky aspect to the track. The pit exit sees drivers emerge on the end of the straight and into turn 1, which will require drivers to stay to the far left-hand side of the track. However, fans have pointed out that for cars already on the track, the natural line for them to take into turn 1 would go over that pit exit line. Yes, so that could cause quite a lot of issues, not only in the race, of course, with pit stops happening, but also, of course, during qualifying, Mark.
Yeah, so, I mean, the immediate thing is that you have to remember, so for turn 1, we go into turn 1, and the pit lane comes on the inside of it as well. The idea is the fact that as you exit out of turn 1 onto the following straight, you're going to collide with that line that is the pit exit. So the problem is, of course, those coming out of the pits have to remain into those lines. They can't get out of the way of drivers that are coming out, and drivers that are coming around the corner will, of course, be coming, that's their best possible line, is to come straight onto that angle. So you could, and it's quite blind as well, let's be honest.
It's quite a tight corner. Looking at it at the moment, you can see how all the barriers are built up on the inside of the next corner. So you really do have to take that line where that entire pit exit line goes over, and that would be your natural apex.
And I think that's exactly the problem that we're noting here, is the fact that we are probably going to see accidents and very close encounters throughout the entire weekend, from qualifying to the race itself, because it's just such a really poor planned corner. I mean, it's bizarre to me, the fact that they thought that this would be absolutely fine.
For something that's been in the pipeline for, I would expect, years at this point. It would have been designed quite some time ago, and it's just really disappointed us fans and not really been what we were hoping for, in terms of the fact that it might have an issue with that pit exit. We're going to have issues with the fact that they didn't have the foresight as well, that it gets cold in the night at a desert.
Yeah, I mean, the pit exit's one thing. Then we talk about the fact that, as you say, the weather is going to play a huge factor. They thought, we're in a desert, it's going to be absolutely fine, except for the fact that the desert does plummet in temperatures at night. And we are going to see, what's the sort of temperatures we're talking about?
So
For the race on Sunday, or it's on Saturday evening in Vegas, Sunday European time, I guess. But they're expecting it to be going from 5 degrees to 10 degrees Celsius. I mean, that is freezing cold.
Yeah, and you cannot get your tires warm easily in that sort of weather. And the engines themselves will also struggle to get started in that.
And I mean, going back to this pit exit, it's also going to be in the cold, and then you're going straight into a left-hander on freezing cold tires. You're probably going to slide over that pit exit line and into the racing line even more.
Yeah, so just have a look at that pit exit right there. It doesn't make sense. Drivers are going to come round, and they're going to really enter straight onto that pit exit where the cars are going to be coming out. I do think you're going to have lots of accidents there, and especially cold tires coming out of the pits. It's going to be a bit of a problem. I think you might be sliding around a little bit. They might have issues in terms of getting grip as a result as well. I think that first corner is going to prove to be a disaster, and I reckon we will have a red flag in this race, probably for a pit 1 incident. And that's not even all the incidents and the problems that we've had for Las Vegas going into this week. We've also had numerous other issues as well, talking mainly also about the fact that grandstands are still not finished, so they're having to move the crowd to different places. Ticket prices are plummeting. I mean, all these various things are happening last minute.
Yes, there is quite a lot happening at the moment in Vegas. A Grand Prix where they were expecting to have completely packed out hotels and packed out VIP boxes. Some of the boxes were set out at about $1 million, and a lot of them have not sold. A lot of the prices for tickets for some of the days have fallen by as much as 80% at this point, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, so they knew they priced it stupidly. And quite frankly, all of those that bought tickets at the full price must be feeling very hard done by.
Yes.
Because of these dramatic price drops they've had, because they cannot sell tickets. And they know they need to sell, they need to fill the place to make it look like such an awesome Grand Prix. It's always been dubbed to be what could be a really, really cool Grand Prix. But we've seen now with all this news coming to light, the fact that it is basically actually poorly planned, rushed, and no logic behind it. I mean, especially when we go back to that weather, which has suddenly become a big problem that people are talking about. We've got an article here that just goes, it's from SI.com, and says, though it is reported to be the coldest race with temperatures dropping as low as 5 degrees centigrade, the twist entails the chance of rain on Friday, which could make matters even worse. So we're looking at the forecast for the entire weekend. It is just stupid, quite frankly. Thursday, of course, because everything's going to be happening a day advanced for the rest of the world. So it's actually, instead of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're seeing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Las Vegas. And the rest of us watching around the world will be in the morning on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So looking at Thursday, free practice 1. The first session could be the warmest of them all, starting at 8:30 local time, and is expected to experience temperatures in the early teens, around 10 degrees Celsius or the mid-50s in Fahrenheit. And that's still very, very low.
That is very cold.
Then we go to practice 2 and 3. Practice 2 starts at midnight on the 17th and would mostly remain the same as FP1, except that it would be slightly colder. But FP3 starts at 8:30 p.m. local time. Again, this is now on the Friday and will be slightly warmer, hopefully, at around 15.5 degrees centigrade. But again, now, here's the other problem that they found on Friday. There could be a 50% chance of rain on the day and during the night. So
I was seeing predictions of that and was really hoping it would be wrong. But those chances are increasing, and that's really going to throw another spanner in the works.
I mean, you have a damp track as well as a wet, as well as a cold track. It's going to be just disasters in terms of tires and engine management. Teams are going to be fuming. Then we go to this, because obviously the qualifying and the race with regards to those various weather forecasts for those. Qualifying happens at midnight on Friday in Las Vegas, so the rest of us will happen on Saturday morning. It could potentially be done on a wet track if it had rained previously in the evening. And in addition to that, there was a 63% chance of rain on the Saturday afternoon, with temperatures predicted to be lowest at night at around 40 degrees Fahrenheit or at around 4.44 degrees centigrade, almost 0 degrees Celsius for the Grand Prix.
That would make it the coldest Grand Prix in history. The current coldest Grand Prix was Canada in, I want to say 1974, I think it was, in my latest video. I might be wrong on that. Go check out my latest video for that stat. But it could be the new coldest Formula 1 Grand Prix.
And the track could also be damp as well, based on the fact that they might have afternoon showers on that Saturday afternoon for the Saturday evening race. So it could be disaster after disaster after disaster in Las Vegas. And of course, we've caught up with a few people as well that within the F1 world, and we've noticed the fact that Max Verstappen has had some very clear claims about what F1's doing.
Max Verstappen is cheerful as always.
Yes.
About a Formula One race, and he's saying he's not looking forward to his Las Vegas trip, and he says that he just wants to do his thing, be gone again after the race.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be gambling at all. As much as all the other Formula One drivers said that Max Verstappen would be the most likely to go and have a night out in Vegas, and the most in the latest Formula One video, but he does not want to stick around too much longer.
No, indeed, and we've got an article here that goes and speaks about Max Verstappen's thoughts about the entire Grand Prix weekend that's coming up, and it is very damning, quite frankly, from the current Drivers' World Champion and the new Drivers' World Champion again, because of course he's already won the season with 2 races to go. Well, he's won it with more races to go, but we've only got 2 races to go, and he's still the winner, of course. So the long straights and the tight corners have had some wondering as to just how good the racing will be in Nevada, and the added issue, of course, of near freezing temperatures, possible rain. The race might not go down as a classic, but in fact a disaster class. That is certainly the opinion of the 3-time world champion Max Verstappen, who said F1 is there for the show more than the racing. First of all, this is Max Verstappen speaking about. He says, first of all, I think we are there more for the show than for the racing itself, if you look at the layout of the track. But, I'm actually not that into it. I'm more like, I'll go there and do my thing and be gone. Vegas is not the only tight track. This is not Max Verstappen speaking now. Vegas is not the only tight track street circuit on the calendar, but when the example of Monaco was raised to the Red Bull driver, he suggested it was the history that made the Monte Carlo circuit special. He said, yes, but Monaco is also just history and the place itself. Everyone wants to have been to Monaco once. You can't really compare. There's still a lot to do. I still need to go on the simulator. I still don't even know the track, to be honest. He said in the build-up to the race in Sao Paulo, of course, this is when the interview was had, the last time I tried it in the F1 game, I think I hit more walls than I was going straight. So let's hope that this is not the case when I start driving there. But it's going to be very different to Brazil. Very low temperatures, of course, in the night there. Street circuit, we have no experience there. We don't know the track. We're all new, so maybe it will give you a few surprises. I don't know. So all we're hearing from Max Verstappen is he's not looking forward to it because, quite frankly, there are too many unknown variables. As Alexandros joins us in the comments there saying, hello, guys. Well, hello to you too as well.
Max Verstappen not looking forward to it, but he'll still go on and most likely win the Grand Prix.
Well, maybe he won't. Maybe
yes.
The few surprises he talks about is the fact that maybe Red Bull don't get their setup right. Maybe they really have absolutely no idea how to approach this, as maybe other teams as well. You might find that cars crash into turn 1. People don't know the lines to take. They don't know the overtaking opportunities around the track because nobody has ever tried it. Nobody knows where's the best possible place to make an overtake. We could see some things develop. Normally, when you watch the F1 titles play, you go and see, here's a popular place to overtake. Here are the maneuvers people try.
Exactly.
These are the sort of things nobody knows for Las Vegas. Completely new circuit. Nobody has a cooking clue.
Well, we'd expect the most popular overtaking spot to be down that main Las Vegas strip. That is the longest straight on the circuit. But we'll have to wait and see where it does prove to be the best opportunity for overtaking. Just looking at some pictures at the moment in this article at the moment. What is this article about, Mark?
Well, we're just looking more in depth as to what we're actually going to expect from the Las Vegas circuit. We've chatted about it. We've said it's going to be a disaster in terms of certain things, but let's actually find out some stats about the track itself. So, the track is officially called the Las Vegas Strip Circuit. Of course, that's because it does feature the main straight going straight down the Las Vegas Strip. Very famously. I don't know how Las Vegas is going to cope with it, but it will. It features
A lot of traffic.
Yeah. It features 17 corners, and it runs to 3.8 miles long with a barrier-lined outline wrapping around the heart of the most iconic areas of Vegas. All but for 4 corners of the lap are on existing roads, which have been resurfaced ahead of the arrival of F1 during the course of this year. The track actually starts to the east of the strip on a previously disused piece of land bought by F1 and the US owners Liberty Media in 2022 at the cost of $240 million.
So they have a lot of money in this race at the moment.
Yeah, so it has been substantially redeveloped to include a vast permanent pit building, garages and team areas, along with hospitality facilities, including the luxurious Paddock Club. The pit building is the length of 3 American football fields and features a 28,000 square foot video screen made into the F1 logo on its roof. So trying to do something with regards to the sphere that's right next to it as well. This redeveloped area also features the pit straight and the first 4 corners of the circuit.
Yes, from there, the lap rejoins the Koval lane and then races towards the astonishing MSG Sphere. In Vegas, which is a new $2.3 billion, 366, sorry.
Numbers everywhere.
Foot immersive music and entertainment arena that has captured global attention since opening in September. U2 is currently performing there at their Las Vegas residency, and they're having to postpone that till the end of the Formula One race.
Yeah, so Formula One will actually have all access rights to the screen on the outside, the big sphere, of course, very famous sphere now that's done, all the news all over the world. They will have access to it, and they will be putting their own imagery on it itself. So what could we expect from that? I don't quite know just yet. It could be very, very interesting, of course. And, you could see some memes.
Yes, well,
we talk
I'm
about
certainly
those sort of
expecting
things.
to see some memes. I think we're going to see what we've been seeing in the past with the just delete that and with the memes that we've seen on the big screen following airplanes and looking at people. We'll throw that up onto screen in a second. There it is. We've seen that quite a lot. I think that's going to be following the Formula One cars as they whiz past. I think we might see some memes of the Formula One drivers. There's been a lot being posted on social media at the moment. Go look at motorsport.com. They're currently having a bit of a poll with their fans just making memes about how they could use the sphere in Vegas this weekend. I'd certainly love to see some of those memes make its way onto the big screen.
It's exactly that. It's a huge sphere right next to the track, of course, and it's going to be completely owned by F1 in terms of the imagery they put up. So we could see some very fancy things. I imagine you'll see flags of the winners and the different of all the sessions and the winner at the end, and fireworks and all these various things could be put on it. Could be very, very cool to see. If nothing else, it will be a spectacle, if not a disaster of a spectacle. But looking now, of course, as to how they turned Las Vegas into an F1 circuit. We're speaking to this article here, Sky Sports, was speaking to the Las Vegas Grand Prix CEO, Rennie Wilm, who said, I said the biggest challenge is really just transportation planning. Yeah, so we are essentially encapsulating 60,000 hotel rooms, workers, guests, and visitors of Las Vegas. And how do we ensure that we are able to keep traffic moving, keep people moving when the track is hot? Well, at this point, cold, quite frankly. As Darren also says, I heard it's going to be cold and a big flop in Vegas indeed. Could be very, very cold. So when he says track is hot, not really that hot. And in that regard, we have installed 3 temporary bridges, which will allow vehicles to access the interior of the track while we are during the race time, and working with the locals hand and glove to figure out how we continue to move the employees and how we get guests into the interior of the track. The roads that make up the circuit will start to shut from 5 p.m. on each of the 3 days of the F1 track activity and reopen from 2 a.m. There will be what is described as hot, ready for the track action, and handed over to officials for the FIA, F1's governing body, from 7 p.m. each evening. Now, it's very interesting that, of course, the fact that they've got the whole track there, and then they're literally allowing normal regulars to go onto the track. Somebody could have an accident, you could have oil spill. Yeah, it's true.
It's exactly the same as Monaco. It's a street circuit. We get it in Azerbaijan. We get it in... Where else do we get street circuits? I'm trying to think now.
Many places.
Singapore. Yeah.
So
it happens all over the place. So there's always those added risks.
You will have these added risks, of course, but it is Las Vegas, and it is going to be very close to the start time of the Grand Prix itself. And because it's such a new circuit, nobody knows the whole... what's the word I'm looking for? But basically, the organization of it all. They don't know how it's all going to work. They don't know how long it's going to take to do it. I'm sure they've had a couple of test runs, but you'll never know when you've got all the equipment there now.
I'm sure this is all going to go quite well. Normally, a race is run by an organizer on behalf of Formula One, and they're contracted in to do it. In this circumstance, it's completely run by Formula One. So it should go like clockwork, you would expect, at least, because they hold all their contractors to really high levels. So they should be able to hold their own race to that exact same standard. Whether we're going to see the likes of track limits at a circuit like this, I don't know. I think it's going to be quite similar to normal street circuits.
It's a street circuit, so you won't
we shouldn't have that
limits. Yeah,
we shouldn't have that to deal with this weekend, which is the good thing for once. It's been a lot of controversy, as well as this week. We haven't spoken about it yet, but Haas launched an appeal into the Austin Grand Prix, and that was rejected by the FIA.
Yeah, so Haas once again just taking L's throughout the entire season, as they always do.
Well, it was to have a look into the track infringements that they deemed weren't investigated properly throughout the race. A lot of fans thought that they had a basis to bring up the appeal, but Formula One clearly and the FIA did not think the same way, so that was rejected by them. And you can of course go and find out a bit more in my video on the channel if you want to know a little bit more about that.
Exactly that. So we move on to another article now, and leaving a little bit of talking about the Las Vegas track circuit itself. This is going into the lead up to what we could expect in Las Vegas in terms of performance from Mercedes. And the fact that Toto Wolff has been speaking to the media, and Planet F1's got an article about it, saying that they've made a key discovery and they can explain what happened in Brazil in terms of their disaster class. Now, Reece, I'm not sure if you talked about this in your other shows yet.
No, not yet.
But we'll talk about it now anyway. And the fact that Mercedes boss Toto Wolff has confirmed the team has found the answers for their woeful performance at the Brazilian Grand Prix circuit. And of course, we hope that then they fix those issues going into Las Vegas and they'll be absolutely fine there. So Mercedes' weekend in Sao Paulo went from bad to worse last time out, culminating in a DNF for George Russell, who would have most likely been lapped by race winner Max Verstappen and a lowly P8 finish for 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton. It was a far cry from 12 months prior when Russell was able to have a car at his disposal capable of winning the race in Brazil, of course, although that victory has been the only one recorded by the Silver Arrows since the conclusion of the F1 2021 season. Mercedes have found the answers. So, ahead of the huge week for F1 in Las Vegas, one slight problem, of course, Wolff isn't sharing the information that has been collected by Mercedes over this past weekend, though they seemingly have found it. He said, sorry, you can say this part.
After promising performances in the US and Mexico Grand Prix, we didn't perform at our best in Brazil, Wolff said. We've been hard at work to identify the wrong turn that we took in the setup. And we have now done that. We understand our mistakes and can explain our performance loss to the field. That is important as we look to secure P2 in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, I mean, basically keeping all his cards close to his chest, of course.
I have a bit of a theory as to why, but I think they were quite conservative with their ride heights this weekend with the sprint race. They didn't get a lot of running, unfortunately, in that FP1 session, and they were very conservative compared to the rest of the grid, and that is why they were.
So you say ride height?
Yes, ride height. Ride height is what cost them the podium in the US Grand Prix, so they've been quite conservative since.
Okay. Well, Wolff has said, and he's continued, in parallel, he says, we have been preparing for the challenge of racing at a venue that is a complete unknown. We have prepared the best we can, using the limited information we have, and there are some unique characteristics we can anticipate. The schedule is offset compared to other races. We'll be running at night where ambient and track temperatures will likely be in the single digits. Plus, the track layout itself is unusual with many slow corners but long straights. It's going to be a big challenge for us all, and we're looking forward to taking it on. It will also be an immense effort off track. We have an impressive guest hosting program, including our own 3-story Vegas club next to Turn 4. Media interest will be through the roof, and seeing the cars race down the Las Vegas Strip will be one of the most exciting moments of the season, and if not just the season, in sports history, I think, because I
think it's going to be a big weekend in terms of celebrity guests on the track. I think we're going to get a few interesting Martin Brundle moments, that is for sure. We got a Machine Gun Kelly one last weekend out in Brazil, which was interesting to say the least. And I'm sure we'll get a few more this race weekend, but I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I think it's going to be exciting. It's going to be tricky for the teams to get their setups correct, but I'm really hoping that we will get some good racing. And just looking at another team that we haven't really spoken about too much in today's podcast.
Well, no, so we've not spoken about many teams at all.
No.
But yes, that is Aston Martin,
yes,
who admits that it was a mistake to make a painful F1 experiment so public, or all of their experiments so public. In recent months, of course, Aston Martin have worked to effectively reverse engineer components developed for next year and then fitted them to the current AMR 2023 with the floor and area of focus. But amid a decline in results for the team that scored a podium in 6 of the opening 8 races during the recent United States and Mexican Grand Prix weekends, it split drivers Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll between old and new floor specifications to conduct real-world back-to-back testing. During these rounds, the team banked only 6 points before cherry-picking components for the most recent Brazilian Grand Prix, when Fernando Alonso, of course, pipped Sergio Perez to return to the podium in 3rd place. It was a great weekend for Aston Martin, but they are admitting they made huge mistakes prior to that.
I think it was necessary for them to do because they were lacking in pace after the restart of the season. We really did see that lack in pace and the drop-off when the other teams started to bring major upgrade packages. and gained quite a lot more. Of course, Red Bull was still able to stay a level above, but the likes of Aston Martin fell back. At least in the last few races, they have started clawing their way back up the grid, and Alonso was able to get that podium just from Sergio Perez in Brazil. But that's what we want to see. We want to see teams getting a lot closer, clawing back those points, and we love a comeback mid-season, as well as, I mean, teams have loved watching what McLaren have been doing this season. Well, not just teams, but fans.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, two-time champion Alonso, of course, admitted the fact that those experiments that they did have during those 2 Grand Prix and a couple of those prior said they were really painful to endure. He said, we had to experiment a little bit more on a few things on the car to really understand the direction that we were going, and we have to go for next year's car as well. So those races were painful, especially Mexico. I think we were very slow as a team. Ahead of the final 2 rounds of the season in Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi, Aston Martin's performance director Tom McCulloch now acknowledges that it was a mistake for the team to carry out so much research and development in public. He said, we're really just focusing these next few races on trying to get as many points as we can do, rather than doing too many R&D projects in front of all of the track. We really got into trying to do some big testing and understanding for next year, with which we've done and got all the data in the bank. It is tough doing all the R&D, especially during a sprint event. We don't want to be starting from the pit lane. We've introduced some parts, we've done some testing, we did a bit too much R&D work in front of you all and over the next 2 race weekends, which maybe in hindsight wasn't the right thing to do. But we're pretty happy we've got good understanding of the way to develop the car, which is key for next year.
Yes, he went on to say, this is not about the outside.
Team boss, actually.
So, Team boss Mike Crack added that Aston Martin had sacrificed results, but it was not about pandering around to the outside world. He said, this is not about the outside world, this is about ourselves. We wanted to learn as much as possible for next year, but obviously then you sacrifice a bit the current results. You have a range of parts that you combine. The cars are very complicated, and you need to really understand the different areas and how they interact with each other.
So, does that mean that Aston Martin is going to be good for the next 2 race weekends? Do they actually understand what's gone wrong, and have they made the relevant fixes? It seemed like they did in Brazil, of course. They got a 3rd and a 5th place finish. Brilliant for the Aston Martins, considering their performances prior to that. Can we expect anything decent from them this weekend?
I certainly hope so. It is a high-speed circuit. We've had high-speed circuits where Aston Martin have done well in the past, in Baku, in Saudi Arabia. I remember Fernando Alonso challenging into turn 1 there. So I think it could be a circuit where they could pull their socks up a little bit and really get their elbows out and fight with the top bunch.
Yeah, so I mean, normally we do this, of course, in a preview and otherwise and sort of things, but I think we can just sort of have a guess. We've got Las Vegas this weekend. It is going to be the most interesting Grand Prix of the season, I believe, just because of all the unknown factors and all the potential problems that are leading into it. Of course, weather. We talk about that turn 1 pit exit. We talk about all of the problems they've had in terms of getting the track ready over the last year. At the same time, it's going to be a huge spectacle that the whole world will surely watch. Who is going to come out on top? Out of absolutely no information to back it up,
Max Verstappen.
Max Verstappen yet again. So Max Verstappen won.
I think off the basis from the rest of the season, I think you have to say Max Verstappen.
So Max Verstappen is winning that Grand Prix apparently. He'll win in Vegas, and then will he go on to be even more lucky in the slots? Who knows, you know? That's the sort of thing.
He feels like doing that. He might just jump back straight into his private jet and head home.
Yeah. So there's all these various things that could happen this weekend. It's going to be very, very fun to watch. You, of course, can catch us here on Forever Motorsports. We'll be streaming all the sessions live with myself and Reece alongside me. And Reece will be with you throughout the entire week building up to the Grand Prix this weekend for all of his shows, all of his other videos. So be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And once again, big shout out to our sponsors, BITDEFENDER and BOYLESPORTS. Of course, BOYLESPORTS have got a very cool promotion going into this weekend. For every 50 rand you place on in the games and inside their app, they will give you 23 spins in their slot machines. So be sure to go and check that out. It's very, very cool. You could win big with BOYLESPORTS. And of course, check out BITDEFENDER, our cybersecurity sponsor. As we end off this video, pretty much, Alexandra's just giving us predictions, just saying Verstappen will rather win, and Charles will take pole again. Well, would you say that's a decent prediction?
I think that would be a good prediction. Charles Leclerc could easily take pole. The Ferraris are quite good at high-speed circuits as well. They could also be in with the mix this weekend if their engines and their hydraulics don't fail on the formation lap again.
Exactly that. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us for the F1 podcast. We'll be here again soon.
Welcome to the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix. Formula One takes to the streets of Sin City this weekend, and it is set to be a spectacle. The 6.1 kilometer long street circuit is the third longest circuit on the calendar, and is nestled into the heart of Las Vegas, with the star of the show being a 2 kilometer long straight down the Vegas Strip, which will see the drivers reaching speeds of around 350 kilometers an hour. Prior to 2023, the only other time a Formula One Grand Prix has been held in Las Vegas was in 1981 and 1982, and for those 2 years it was called the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, with a temporary circuit being set up in the parking lot of the Caesars Palace Hotel and Casino. This race is set to be the highlight of the season, with multiple teams revealing special liveries as well as drivers bringing one-off helmets for the race weekend. This weekend also saw the first opening ceremony for an F1 race, being kicked off by bands and singers, before introducing all of the Formula One drivers. The 6.2 kilometer long circuit is a thrilling neon-fueled ride that takes drivers through the heart of Sin City. The circuit runs anti-clockwise, featuring 17 corners and a 1.92 kilometer long straight, making it one of the fastest tracks on the Formula One calendar, with average speeds set to be comparable to Italy's Monza. The start-finish line and turns 1 to 4 are situated in a former parking lot that Formula One purchased for a whopping $240 million and transformed into a state-of-the-art pit and paddock area. As drivers exit that area and head to Coval Lane, they will experience a 1 kilometer long straight from turns 4 until they reach a hard braking zone at Westchester Drive in turn 5. Turns 6, 7, 8 and 9 will take drivers around the newly opened MSG Sphere, before accelerating down Sands Avenue to turn 12. Between turns 12 and 14, the track offers a 1.92 kilometer long straight that provides drivers with stunning views of the Las Vegas Boulevard, aka the Las Vegas Strip, including the Venetian, the Mirage, Caesars Palace, the Eiffel Tower at Paris, Las Vegas, and the Bellagio fountains. Finally, the circuit will travel along East Harmon Avenue from turns 14 to 17, before the left kink of turn 17 takes it back to the start-finish line. It is certainly set to be an interesting weekend, with temperatures expected to be in the single digits for the race on Saturday evening. This could make things tricky for the drivers with regards to getting their tyres up to temperature. For this weekend, Pirelli are bringing the softest range of tyres, with the C5, the C4 and the C3 compounds. Hopefully this will allow drivers to get their tyres up to temperature. And just to spice things up, rain is also predicted for the race. Watch now as you get taken around a lap of the Las Vegas Grand Prix circuit. Let us know down in the comment section who you are supporting for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. And be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We hope to see you during our coverage of the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Motorsports. You're joined by myself, Mark, and Reece alongside me, and we are live here for qualifying in Las Vegas. And of course, it's going to be the first ever qualifying session at the circuit. And we saw just obviously in FP2 and FP3, FP1, obviously we saw the problems that happened there. We have found that all of the times are progressing slowly towards the sub 94-second lap, which would be looking at the 1 minute 33 is essentially for what we could be seeing in qualifying today. Might even see the 132s, they're saying. So lots could happen in qualifying. The Ferraris are looking quick, and the Red Bulls did manage to fight back a little bit more in FP3 in terms of finding that pace. We reckon it's going to be a very, very close qualifying, and I cannot wait to get going.
Yes, it's going to be quite interesting. I think the Ferraris are going to have a lot of pace. The Mercedes, George Russell seems to have some pace. Lewis Hamilton, though, seems to be a little bit off the pace of his teammates this afternoon. Whether he can pull that back, though, for qualifying, we'll have to wait and see. Looking at some issues, though, around this track, a lot of the drivers getting a little bit caught out of sorts in quite a few braking zones. Big lockups that we've seen throughout the day. Some drivers as well just not making those apexes. And that's going to...
Well, and be sure, do you think is going to happen in today's qualifying in terms of where the drivers will head off into those runoff areas? Is that going to cause problems in terms of right at the end of sessions, if they happen to mess up their laps, will people be able to get proper banker laps in? Because we see how quickly the track can evolve here in Las Vegas already. So let us know in the comments. Of course, like the video and subscribe. Be sure to check out our channel partners, BOYLESPORTS and BITDEFENDER as well. Lindiwe is joining us in the comments. Hello, everybody. H-Chan as well. Good afternoon, everybody. And Old Man Vu, hello to YouTube's best F1 coverage. So thank you very much, Old Man Vu, always joining us for most of our streams. And be sure, as I say, guys, to share this with anybody you know if you also want to try and get a bit of a bigger community going. Share with your friends and let's have some chats otherwise. So, I mean, we obviously gave our predictions earlier with what could happen in qualifying. Are you still sticking with it?
I think I'm going to stick with my prediction that I gave earlier. Yeah, Charles Leclerc P1, Max Verstappen P2, Carlos Sainz P3. Okay,
so a very stock stat, I suppose, a very, very good look at it, putting Max Verstappen still up there, but not in first, putting Charles Leclerc right in first, Carlos Sainz in third position as well. We're looking at Fernando Alonso, though. Do you think he could provide some surprises today? Because the Aston Martins not looked slow at all this weekend. So they could provide some really good entertainment. Do you think he could maybe aim for a top 3 finish?
I think he'll have pace. I don't think he'll have pace enough for the top 3.
Okay, so not enough pace for the top 3. But if we do look generally across the board, we do have the Mercedes did come back up, obviously, in FP3 with regards to pace. George Russell looking quite good there. Lando Norris, not as good as his teammate Oscar Piastri, who then finished off in second. So hopefully both McLaren drivers will find their pace in qualifying here. So we've got Mercedes, we've got McLaren, we've got Ferrari, Red Bull, all vying it out for the top spots, with Aston Martin with somewhat of an outside chance. I think it's pretty much an unknown, although, as I say, Reece gave his predictions. My prediction was saying Charles Leclerc. I think I said Carlos Sainz, and then I said, just trying to remember now, George Russell, funny enough, I said in third place, because I do think the Mercedes will find a little bit more pace as well. So I think a lot of people are also putting these predictions in their heads and thinking, I don't actually know which way it could go. So what would be key for these drivers in terms of making sure they, get to Q3 and then make sure that they don't miss out on those top spots, the likes of Max Verstappen, of course, making a few more mistakes than he usually does in these practice sessions so far. He's gone to the runoff area about 3-4 times already.
I've seen it about once.
No, definitely at least twice, if not, I think 3 times he's had to abandon laps. So, I mean, are we going to see lots of mistakes in this qualifying session?
From Max Verstappen? No.
From general drivers?
Yes. From Logan Sargent, I think he's going to hit a wall. He's been getting very close throughout the race weekend. I think some of the other drivers as well will get a little bit out of sorts. But I think the top 5 drivers should be able to stay relatively clean as long as they get their bank laps in pretty quickly.
So obviously we're going to look at Q3 first. Now, which are the 5 drivers we reckon are going to drop out? Looking generally across the board, of course, we had Ricciardo, Gasly, Tsunoda, Sainz, and Leclerc in FP3, of course, the 5 slowest drivers. The Ferraris didn't get a soft tire run in, though, in FP3. So Who are the 5 drivers you reckon would probably be likely to drop out? Which teams are not looking so strong?
Well, it's difficult to say right now because I don't think we've seen the true pace from some of the cars down at the bottom. But the Hasses are looking quite quick, so I don't think they're going to be in the bottom 5. Alfa Romeo, they've also been quick, so it's a big unknown, really.
Well, I think there's 2 teams that I pinpoint as seeing maybe not being as quick as the rest of the grid, and that is AlphaTauri, who seem to be not as quick as we'd hoped they would be, as well as Alpine. I think those two teams might be struggling in Q1, of course, to get out of that. So those 5 drivers, I reckon, could definitely be made up of 4 drivers from those 2 teams. And I think Guan Yu Zhou, because Zhou Guan Yu does tend to struggle getting into Q2 and Q3. So I think he's probably an outside chance there, as well as obviously the likes of Logan Sargent, who I think is also a big case for dropping out of Q1. He often does
he'll make it out of Q1 today. His Williams has a lot of pace.
Yeah, so I think the Williams is showing a lot more than usual. So I think Logan Sargent should get out of there. So my prediction for the bottom 5 at least is Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Gasly, Ocon, and I'm going to say...
You said Zhou.
Zhou, Guan Yu. Yeah, indeed. I'm going to go with those 5.
Yes, just looking now, the titles are rolling for Formula 1, so not long left to go until we do get cars out on track. We've got about 5 minutes left until the session does go green. So be sure to let us know in the comment section who you are supporting for this qualifying today. Let us know who you think is going to drop out in this first quali. Mark will get a poll up and going for that as well. Yeah, very, very exciting ahead of the first qualifying session here in Las Vegas.
And of course, I've given my 5 drivers who I reckon are going to drop out. Reece, do you have any other options, or do you more or less want to back the same sort of
I'll
decisions?
back the same 5. I don't really know, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of unknowns still.
There are a lot of unknowns, and I think it's now just basically prediction games. And looking at Las Vegas, of course, it is now midnight or just close to midnight in Las Vegas for the 22nd round of 23 for the 2023 season. And Las Vegas, of course, the last American race of 3 that we've had this season. And then, of course, next week we'll head across to Abu Dhabi for another night race, of course. And we already know who our drivers' champion is. We already know who our constructors' champion is. But we do not know who comes second in both of those. So that is the big question mark.
I think the gap is a little bit too big now from Sergio Perez to Lewis Hamilton. It's still close, but I think Sergio Perez should be able to hold on to that second place before the end of the season.
So Drivers' Championship, not as all up in the air, but I think certainly Constructors' Championship, not quite determined as yet. Looking at the track distance, of course, it's 6.2 kilometers long. There are 3 sectors, which we find 2 DRS zones. DRS zone in Sector 1 and DRS zone 2 in Sector 3. So Sector 2 is a bit more of the tricky one with more turns. There are 17 of the turns throughout the track, and should certainly provide a lot of overtaking opportunities in the race. But qualifying, people could be ending up in the wall, as we did see Alex Albon in PFP3, of course.
Yes, just looking at the tyre compounds for this race weekend, Pirelli are bringing the softest of the range with the C5, C4, and C3 tyres this weekend, going from soft, medium to hard. The soft should, of course, be the ones used today in qualifying. But in the race tomorrow, I think it's still a little bit of an unknown with regards to the amount of degradation that we're going to get. Looking at the track temperature, though, here today, it's 14 degrees Celsius air temperature, track temperature being 16 degrees Celsius with 62% humidity and a 2.1 kilometer an hour wind that is blowing around Las Vegas at the moment. Not the worst that we've seen, but it is certainly going to be a little bit tricky out there for drivers under the lights with a little bit of gusts. But I think it should be all relatively fine.
Yeah, so of course we're going to go head into Q1 in just about 2 minutes' time. So get your predictions in very, very quickly as to who's going to top Q1. I can't put that poll up right now, but it will be put up very, very shortly. And yeah, of course, go and participate in that poll as it goes up. And otherwise, let us know your thoughts of what happened in FP3. Do you think we'll see more drivers in the wall this session? Because we did see Alex Albon just glance a little bit, got a flat tire, then the tire eventually came off, causing that red flag 5 minutes before the end of that session.
Well, he didn't get a flat tire. He caused a puncture by hitting the wall there. So unfortunate, but it can show if you take too big of a risk, it can not necessarily pay off for you.
Yeah, and we've seen lots of drivers get very close to that same wall that Alex Albon did hit. Funny enough, his teammate very often had quite a few replays of him getting exceptionally close to that wall, luckily missing it almost every single time. except for FP2, where he did glance it ever so slightly, but didn't cause any damage, of course. Alex Albon, however, did hit it a little bit more firmly. I think we will see some more drivers hitting it. And I think we will see a lot of people going off to the runoff areas. So banker laps are going to be very important, because it's quite easy to make a mistake here, because some of the drivers don't know the track as well yet. And I think also it's so easy to make a mistake in some parts of this track that if you don't get a good banker lap in, or you don't get a good couple of laps during the session, you're really going to struggle come to the end if you make a mistake.
Well, I mean, that's what qualifying is all about. It's about high pressure, high rewards. If you don't get your lap time in fast enough, that's it for the day, unfortunately, and you're going to be relegated. Speaking of those two who could be relegated, what do we think the Mercedes could do? They're currently, I mean, George Russell has the pace, but what about Lewis Hamilton?
He'll make Q3, but I think he's going to struggle to get this. Just, I don't know what's happened, but he's struggling to get to grips with this car this weekend, and I think he should be finding a lot more pace than he is. I'm not sure, maybe he made a couple of mistakes in qualifying that we didn't quite see, and then maybe that's why he's not as high up as he... I mean, in FP3, of course, the qualifying sims that he had. But I'm sure he should get to Q3. It's what he does from there, I think, is going to be a bit of a struggle. Drivers, I'm interested to see what happens with Perez, Hamilton, and I think, funny enough, Lance Stroll, because he's sort of an outside chance to make Q3 and not also. So that's another one I also want to keep an eye on.
Yes, as the session does now tick down to 0, and we do have the green light for qualifying here in Las Vegas. Who will be the first to jump out of the pits?
I imagine McLaren might well be, because they do quite like to get out there quite early, although it looks like AlphaTauri, I think it is, that are leading us out. They are definitely white cars. I think those are two AlphaTauris.
AlphaTauris.
Look at AlphaTauris. Yeah, so the AlphaTauris of Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo seem to be leading us out today. And actually, in fact, Magnussen is the very first car out on track. Gasly's on the radio already. Interested to see if there's problems there, or maybe there's just a little bit of traffic, or just giving some explanations about what's happening. We see Gordon Ramsay is in
with Rod Stewart.
With Rod Stewart as well. So big names here in Las Vegas, and that's will.i.am also, I think, in the background there. No, it's not.
No, that's not will.i.am.
It's not will.i.am. It's it's fine. But Rod Stewart there is having a good chat there. So good to see lots of celebrities have made their way out here, of course, in Las Vegas. Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg also out on the track. So let's see how many drivers get out early. We see that Bottas has also joined as Zhou, Ocon, Gasly, and Ricciardo all out there on the track.
Yes, all the drivers now making their way past the fountains for the first time in qualifying. The Bellagio fountains all lit up as the Formula 1 cars drive past. There we can see that first Haas, which made its way out of the pits first. Who else is out on circuit at the moment? It looks like we have one of the Red Bulls, both of the McLarens, both of the Ferraris, both Alfa Romeos as well, the Williams drivers, and I think one of the Mercedes.
Yeah, so we've pretty much got everybody bar 6 drivers, being both Mercedes drivers, both the Aston Martins, Albon and Verstappen. So those drivers have yet to make their way out. Magnussen going to be our first fast lap, though, in qualifying. I'm intrigued to see how close we get to 134/133 in the immediate first lap here in this session. So going to the comments, you've got a few more people joining us. Callers in the comments. MJ Rams asking a question. Do you think having this kind of races, where there's something more than racing in Las Vegas, is better for F1?
No.
I think... Yeah, it's monetary wise. This is what a lot of this is here. It's a money thing, this race. So we'll yet to see if this is going to be a good race. To be fair, I think it's harsh to judge the race before we've had the race. I think that's what a lot of the people, especially involved in F1 and the teams, have been saying. Don't judge the race by a few sessions before it. Judge the race after we've had the race. It could be an exceptionally exciting race, in which case we'd say, yes, add it to the calendar. F123 is obviously here. Pureblood's back here saying, let's go. And Bryn is also joining us saying, hi, guys, as well. So Magnussen setting, obviously, the first fastest sector. He's the first one round. It's not currently being beaten by his teammate Hülkenberg, so seemingly going around a little bit quicker than his teammate is Magnussen.
Yes, we do expect those to be beaten quite quickly, though, here today. Waiting for the next driver to make their way around the track and take those sector times away from Magnussen. Fine. Sargent, brilliant. Moved himself up to second ahead of Sergio Perez.
Yes, very good from Logan Sargent, obviously at his 3rd home race of the season. But here comes Max Verstappen. He's up 0.028 seconds on Charles Leclerc's time in Sector 1. And, of course, has now taken that purple sector away from Charles Leclerc. What can he do in the 2nd and 3rd sector? Of course, we do know the Ferraris
fighting with the wheel, though, which is not very common to see in that Red Bull car. So clearly not 100% happy with his setup right now, but that was a really tricky sector he did go through there.
yeah, indeed. Now he's having to deal with a little bit of traffic, but luckily they're all getting out of the way quite well for him. And usually the Ferraris do make up quite a lot of time in the third sector, and Max Verstappen's already down on Leclerc in the second. So he's got a lot of work to do in the third sector
by
to try and make up to it.
0.033, so it's very close between the two drivers. Max Verstappen usually does make up a little bit of time as well in the final sector, so we'll have to wait and see what he can do now as he finishes up this lap.
Yes, indeed. He comes round that second to last corner, the little tricky section first, before he goes into the long straight, which eventually turns into the start-finish straight through a little bit of a left-hander. And he should come across on the 135. I think it's going to be, actually might even be slower than Logan Sargent's time. He comes across the line only just ahead of Logan Sargent. So is still behind Charles Leclerc, but yeah, not what we expect from Max Verstappen. You'd expect to be a little bit quicker already. So the Ferrari is certainly putting the challenge there.
He's within touching distance of the Ferrari. One tiny little better braking into one corner can make up 0.089 seconds.
Exactly that. But you can also say the same thing for Charles Leclerc. So it's very close between the drivers, which is what we want to see. And you can see Magnussen's also crossed the line, only 0.17 seconds behind Verstappen and Leclerc as well. So all the times are very close, very competitive. Good to see the Williams and the Haas right up there in third and fourth, ahead of some other big drivers of Perez, Norris, Piastri, and the like. So it's not easy there. Bottas also is having a good weekend so far. He's got a 135.1 now. He moves into fifth. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc going around very quickly here. Purple sector's being put in, but Charles Leclerc is already up 0.6 seconds on his previous time. So brilliant from Charles Leclerc and these Ferraris. I think they're going to take 1 and 2 right now.
Yes, it looks like they will be taking 1 and 2 as soon as they cross the line with these current times that they're putting in. Charles Leclerc, 0.6 up on his previous lap time. What can he do now as he comes around the final 2 corners? He should be really, really quick. I think he could even be close to the 133s, 134.7. Close. It's getting very quick there. Carlos Sainz goes fastest. Where can Charles Leclerc go, though?
Sure. Almost into the 133s.
134.072. Very, very close for Charles Leclerc. Brilliant lap time from the two drivers.
I think that's a very, very good statement from Ferrari. Nice and early on, because the track hasn't evolved too much during the session, and they're already almost into the 133. So it's a big, big statement from Ferrari, basically to the rest of the field, saying, "Come on, match our pace now. You know, get to where we are." Watching a replay here of Lando Norris really fighting with his wheel here, and does he get caught out by traffic? He really does get caught out by a Red Bull there. And
that's Sergio
Perez there. So Sergio Perez not getting out the way very well of the McLaren of Lando Norris. Norris not particularly happy about it, but obviously at least the session's a little bit longer and they have enough time. Oscar Piastri does touch that same wall that Alex Albon, of course, lost his tyre to. So I think we will see somebody into that wall at some point during the session.
I think as people start to take more and more risks, we're going to see someone end up in that wall. Fernando Alonso is going around at the moment. What can he do on his lap time? I don't think it's fast enough. 34, 30,
Ooh, not too bad.
35.05, so 4th place for himself.
Yeah, he's already a second down on Leclerc, though, so still quite a lot of time to make up for him, but not a bad first lap for him to put in place. Of course, it is still right behind Max Verstappen and ahead of most of the rest of the field. So those two Ferraris very firmly in front, especially Charles Leclerc, almost into the 133s, but everybody else is almost a whole second behind him. So very impressive for Charles Leclerc this weekend. He looks very fired up and he's loving this track. He has said so in interviews that he's absolutely loving it. And let's see if they can continue it for the rest of the weekend. Can they do it in the race? Could they get a surprise 1-2 in the race? I mean, there's a lot of confidence in Ferrari right now as Albon crossed the line on the 135.0 ahead of Alonso. So great lap time from him as well.
I would be very surprised if they can take home a 1-2 at the end of the day on Sunday.
With Sainz also starting further back.
Yes, but I think it's still possible. Their car has a lot of pace, as Race Control notes that the lap time for Yuki Tsunoda has been deleted for track limits at turn 8. First track limits issue we're seeing today as Sergio Perez moves within half a second of Charles Leclerc.
Hamilton as well also moves there out. Also a very good lap for him. He's into 3rd. Interestingly enough, though, for Hamilton, he got the final sector as a purple. So that's the fastest sector of the track. So he's seemingly got good straight line speed there for Mercedes.
That's good to know for the Mercedes because they've been struggling with their straight line speed all season long. So they finally seem to have been able to sort out those issues with Hamilton and the Mercedes car.
Yeah, so James, of course, is supporting Ferrari in the comments. Let us know who is your team and who your drivers are as well in the comments. Let us know who you're supporting. And James also saying, so who's going to go into the wall first? Well, I mean, that's a difficult question to ask. I think it could be anybody. Logan Sargent's been erring on that line quite often this weekend. Alex Albon, of course, went into it. Oscar Piastri coming into a little bit of contact earlier. Now, I think it's up in the air. It could be anybody.
Oscar Piastri didn't actually make contact with the wall. He made more contact with the branding on the side of the wall. As Stroll finishes up his lap, he only goes in 14th.
Yeah, Stroll is, as I say, I wanted to watch him to see what he could do in terms of, I keep saying, that is his consistency between races is so poor. When he does one good race, you expect, cool, here's Lance Stroll. Can he continue this? And he never does. And we wanted to see this week. Of course, he had a great time out in Brazil, but so far, not looking very good for Lance Stroll. He's down in 14th. Oscar Piastri currently in a fast lap here. He's beaten all his sector times so far. How close can he get to Charles Leclerc's time, though? Will he beat Norris's time, who's up in 4th? And time deleted for George Russell as well from race control. So another deleted time.
For track limits at turn 8, same corner.
Yeah, so I think
this is going to be an interesting development. And today, this is the first time we've seen track limits being an issue. Oscar Piastri catching a brilliant slipstream. He moves all the way up into P6 now off the back of his latest push lap.
Yeah, so Russell obviously had his previous lap times deleted. He's yet to put a proper time on as a result. He's currently completing a fast lap. He's beaten his personal best, but of course they will be personal bests because he's had his lap times deleted. Let's see how close he can get to the top 10. Doesn't look like he's going too quickly. I think he might finish about 7th.
Comes around the final corner now, and he goes up into 5th with 134.726. It's quite misleading, the timer, when it's counting up as they come towards that finish line.
Indeed.
Max Verstappen comes across the line. He goes now into 2nd with a 134.1, much closer to the likes of Charles Leclerc, 0.1 down on that lap time now. But Charles Leclerc set that lap time a while ago on a much less evolved track. So I think the Red Bulls are starting to worry a bit.
As I say, this is an interesting thing. Charles Leclerc on what was not a really gripped up track, put in that brilliant time, a hell of a time, and has relaxed since. And Max Verstappen's really pushed that time there and still can't beat him much later on in the session. So Ferrari really do have qualifying pace. Now, can they match it with race pace? Sainz now going around exceptionally quickly. Look at the time he set in Sector 1. His Sector 2 time is also up on Leclerc's. So this could be another fast lap. This could be a 133 if Sainz continues as he is.
He doesn't improve on his middle sector. Well, he improves, but not on the personal best set out there or the fastest set out there, as Charles Leclerc goes even faster now in the middle sector. Just setting those timing boards alight. He has got a bit of a slipstream from his teammate, so that will be helping. But I think these two Ferraris are about to set once again the fastest lap times of the day.
Logan Sargent moves into 3rd, a 134.5. Brilliant from the Williams driver. He's actually doing very well today so far. Here comes Sainz.
He's doing better than his teammates. And Sainz finally goes into the 133s for the first time today, or the 133.8, and Charles Leclerc steals that away with a 133.6, the fastest time of the day.
These are brilliant times being pushed by these Ferraris here. And I think Red Bull must be panicking a little bit because Verstappen pushed hard there. You know that he did there to try and take that top spot there. And he's now almost 0.6 down on Leclerc's latest time. So these Ferraris are just strutting their stuff right now. They're loving life. I think Ferrari fans might be getting a little bit too confident as another time is deleted. As Lando Norris this time, same turn again, turn 8.
Yes, Hülkenberg finishes up his lap now, and he goes up into P4 with a 134.2. Brilliant lap time from himself. Alonso improves on his lap time, only up for 8th though, as Zhou Guanyu moves himself out of that driver at risk zone, as does Pierre Gasly now, moving himself up into P4.
Yeah, Gasly into P4 and Bottas following him into P5. So Bottas also having a very good day today so far. Gasly was an Alpine. I didn't think the Alpines would be doing this well, but right now not doing too bad is Pierre Gasly. But Ricciardo and Tsunoda are where I thought they would be, as is Zhou. Piastri right now also in the relegation zone, as is Lance Stroll. So those two need to really hurry it up, but the AlphaTauri is definitely struggling.
I think we're going to get into the 132s before the end of this.
Yeah, I also think so. I was going to say Q3, I think we're in the 132s, even the mid 132s, I reckon. We could be making up a whole second. This track really is just evolving as we keep going, and the drivers are also getting far more used to it and just risking it a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, which is getting that extra time as well. We've only got about 2 minutes left of the session. Can Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo get out of the relegation zone? Can Stroll and Piastri get out of that zone? And Zhou as well is in 16th. Those in danger, Ocon, Albon, Russell, Norris, and Hamilton. Also not very safe there. Neither is Alonso. So these drivers need to go out again. Watching a replay of Lance Stroll. Does he go off into the runoff area? Oh, my word. He comes exceptionally close to the 1 centimeter to the wall. That could have been a disaster for Lance Stroll. Yeah, I mean, He took all the track he had available to him, and he's still down in 18th.
Yes, there is a bit of a... that was really, really close for him there. As we're watching Oscar Piastri starting another hot lap on a set of softs.
Last attempt.
Yeah, this will have to be his last attempt. He's down in P17 right now. He needs to get this lap time into work.
Yeah, obviously we've got less than 90 seconds remaining. Oscar Piastri doing this fast lap right now. Let's see how he fares in terms of his times. I think we should see him be okay, but he cannot afford a mistake. I did say earlier that you need to get good banker laps in these sessions because the times will improve drastically. He's up on Ocon's time, but he's slower than his original best Sector 1 time. So not the greatest start for Oscar Piastri in a lap that he has to nail. Let's see how he fares in Sector 2 and 3, though.
Yes, hopefully he is able to improve through Sectors 2 and 3 to get himself out of that bottom zone. But the McLarens don't seem to have the upper hand here today where we thought they would, as George Russell has his track time deleted again for turn 8.
So George Russell, again, is not... At least he's got a decent banker lap in that he has put in. He's in 13th right now.
But I think it's just been deleted.
No, because otherwise he'd drop down. So Russell has a lap, but it's not the best one. He really does need to improve upon his times. I'm not even sure if he's got the ability to go around again. I think that might have been his recent lap. So Oscar Piastri finishing up his lap. He's not gone better in Sector 2 again. Neither is Albon. And there's a yellow flag in Sector 1 and Sector 2. I think somebody might have gone off into the runoff area maybe. As it is, that's the change in these two zones. So one imagines nothing serious, although it's still there.
No, they're in the wall, I think.
No, they're still moving. No, it's just into the runoff area. Piastri now crosses the line. Does he get out of that relegation zone? He doesn't. He's out.
Very disappointing for Oscar Piastri not to be able to get out of that bottom 5 at the end of this Quali 1 session. Just waiting to see some visuals of Yuki Tsunoda going off there in the middle of the track. George Russell still trying to get himself a little bit higher up as his teammate Hamilton moves himself up into P6. Who is at risk right now? It's Esteban Ocon, Zhou Guanyu, Piastri, Stroll, Ricciardo, and Tsunoda. You have to think that all of these drivers aren't going to be able to get themselves out.
Well, Piastri's definitely not. He's out. He's 100% out. Russell moves into third. A brilliant, brilliant lap from George Russell, almost into the 133s himself.
Will that lap time be deleted? Daniel Ricciardo moves himself out of that bottom relegation zone up into P14, but he could still be at risk with these other drivers running around.
Lando Norris is in the pits, which means he's at risk here. So if Lance Stroll goes quicker than Lando Norris, Lando Norris will be out. Both McLarens will be out in Q1. Here comes Stroll. He moves into 11th. Both McLarens are out of the session. Out of nowhere.
I was not expecting that here today. But that's the reality of it. Unfortunately, the McLarens didn't have the pace today. Very disappointing, as Lando Norris is knocked out by 0.02 seconds.
So Daniel Ricciardo is just safe. I think we are finished. I don't think there's any more laps that still need to be done. So unless Lando Norris, Lando Norris is in the pits.
He's out.
Piastri's not going to be able to continue. Of course, he's not on a fast lap. He's also out. So these are the 5 confirmed eliminations. Yuki Tsunoda, Piastri, Zhou Guanyu, Ocon, and Norris. Nobody would have called the McLarens to go out in this session.
No, definitely not. Definitely would have thought that they would have been able to find some more pace here today, but Zach Brown not looking very impressed. Unfortunately, that's the pace for their cars here today.
Well, very good from Ricciardo. He just got himself out of that relegation zone, outdoing Yuki Tsunoda once again. Watching a replay here of, I think this is Lance Stroll. Actually, no, it's now watching Perez getting very close to George Russell as he's trying to get around. Oh, my word, look at the traffic. And this is the problem. Oh, they're all on fast laps trying to get past Max Verstappen, just trying to get to their fast laps to start them. And Max Verstappen, once again, just sitting his car right in the middle of the field there. And just got caught with a lot of traffic there.
To be fair, he was holding off of the racing line. And is that Max Verstappen into turn 1?
Well, I don't know who that is.
That looked like Perez. I didn't see green.
No, Verstappen.
Oh, Verstappen.
Yeah, Verstappen not enjoying his time right now. I think he's really frustrated out on the track. Just trying to get past Ocon into some turns here. And then they're just fighting in qualifying. Oof. I think that might be investigated. They're getting very close to each other. Verstappen on the radio saying, what a stupid idiot. Both of them getting angry with each other.
I think Ocon was finishing a lap and Verstappen was trying to start a lap.
No idea, but all I know is that they got very close to each other.
Either way, it was very scrappy in the end. As the stewards have noted an incident involving Hamilton, Russell, Albon, Zhou, Gasly, and Bottas for failing to follow the race director's instructions of a maximum delta time.
Well, I think those are all the same drivers that got caught in that traffic there. So I think that's why they were all rushing and suddenly got caught out, because they were all trying to get around the track again, because they were going far too slowly. So all of that traffic didn't help. And when everyone got in the way of each other, it slowed them all down. I think that's why they're now being investigated as well.
Lando Norris is still sitting in his car at the moment, maybe just hoping for some track limits to come into play here. But unfortunately, I think his day is over and he may as well get out of his McLaren car.
Yeah, I think we would have found out about track limits already. Tsunoda's out. He's walking down all the way down in 20th. Brilliant session, though, for Sargent and Albon, who's out of it. Both of them out of Q1, which is good to see. Lance Stroll did also manage to get out eventually. So at the moment, holding on to his onto his position in qualifying. And let's see what the other drivers can do. Nobody can seem to match the Ferraris though right now.
Yes, Gary just saying there that I called the lap times relatively well yesterday when they were sitting in the 139s. I said 134s, and great to see that the lap times are coming down. They've come down a lot more than I expected them to come down. They were in the 139s at the beginning of FP1, and when we did get running in FP2, and now the track has evolved so quickly, the drivers have gotten their confidence around here. Yuki Tsunoda, he's just a petulant child at this point. Get him out of that car. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's losing his mind in the car, and he chucks his headrest onto the bottom of the car.
They haven't even pushed him into the pits properly yet, and he's already throwing a tantrum, throwing his headrest out of the car, trying to get out. It's just unnecessary, really.
Yeah, it is. Old Man Vu making a very good point. It's very exciting to watch Leclerc in form. When Leclerc is performing, it's fantastic to watch because he does drive so well when he has a car that's working for him as well. Justin now needs to keep consistent and hopefully he can do something in the race. Obviously, we've still got another 2 qualifying sessions. He needs to make sure he tops those and starts in pole, but he seems very likely for it right now. Nobody seems to be even competing that much for pole position with Charles Leclerc. He seems to be out in front quite by himself.
Yes, he does seem to be quite on his own out there in P1 right now. It's just a one-horse battle, really, with Ferrari being the only horse out there ahead of the rest of the grid.
Yeah, but I say the Lerg's a horse. They're the only horse out there, and it's certainly the horse that you need to back at this point in time because they are going around very quickly. Ocon versus Verstappen. Love me that battle, says James. And McLaren, is it a poor strategy or is it not fast enough?
I think they just got caught up by the new track this weekend. Unfortunately, no data available. Maybe just didn't bring the parts that they needed. Maybe they were thinking that they were going to be struggling with the cooling this weekend, and it's been less of an issue than we expected. They already said in FP1 that they had a cooling issue with Lando Norris there. They brought him in, I think, opened up those cooling vents a little bit more, and then sent him back on his way. They've just really started the weekend on the back foot, and it's going to make their race tomorrow quite difficult, starting far back.
Yeah, it is going to make it quite difficult, especially for McLaren now. So, and funny enough, speaking of McLaren, there is a McLaren that's sitting in one of the hotels there right in the middle of the pool. Well, I don't know why it's being featured right now because they're not featuring in the race really tomorrow because they're starting all the way at the back of the track. Pureblood also making a good note there that Danny was 1.8 seconds quicker than Yuki Tsunoda.
Yes, much better from Daniel Ricciardo, finally being able to find his pace around the circuit. He's been struggling a little bit this race weekend, but glad to see he's at least finding some more pace. The stewards have noted a Turn 5 incident involving Lance Stroll, which will be under investigation after the session for failing to slow down under yellow flag conditions.
Yes, eventually Norris has given in to the fact that he's not going to be participating in the next session. No track limits were found to be there to try and help him, so he is going to be out of the session. Lance Stroll is sitting in his car, though, ready to get going, but he's going to be investigated afterwards. So he just needs to make sure he tries to get as high up as possible in case a grid penalty is given. I don't think he will get one, though. Usually when you see these investigated after the session, it's not actually that often. We'll see too many changes in the grid, unless it's for a serious incident. And I think this is Alonso starting P2, or Q2 rather.
Yes, Alonso is the first driver to get out for you've thrown me now, for qualifying 2. So what can he do here today? He doesn't have crazy amounts of pace, but I think he should be the faster Aston Martin driver, at least today.
Well, Lance Stroll finished up his qualifying 1 just behind his teammate Alonso, so they were literally 10th and 11th. So I think it's going to be a small battle, but yes, one always backs Alonso in that regard. One's got a lot more experience. The other one is never consistent. And a lot of people still call for his head in Formula 1 and say, get out of the sport and put somebody else there. I think the biggest problem with that is, especially recently, he's gotten very angry and he's not doing himself any favors. And that's the problem. He did very well in Brazil. He brought back a lot of belief in terms of his ability to drive in Brazil. But can he match it this weekend? That's the big question. That's why I keep saying we need to watch him here. Looking at the head-to-head qualifying, of course, Fernando Alonso's out-qualified Lance Stroll 17 times to Lance Stroll's 3.
Yes, and that just shows why we prefer to watch Alonso and his true pace compared to Stroll's. We now see this is Sergio Perez leaving the pits. What can he do compared to Max Verstappen? He's been out-qualified 18 times versus he's out-qualified Max twice this season.
I think half the problem with those qualifying times as well is not just because Max Verstappen's so quick usually, but Perez has often crashed out in qualifying. It's not an unknown thing for Perez to crash out. He's done it quite a few times.
I can only think of him crashing out in Monaco, to be honest. I can't remember other times when he's crashed out other than Monza.
Well, what I mean, sorry, not
Monza
crashed
and
out.
Monaco.
Not crashed out, sorry, I do mean, but like certainly making mistakes and going out in Q2 a lot of the time. He's gone out in Q2 multiple times this season. As Alonso starts our first fast lap for Q2, and I'm very keen to see what he can do in this Aston Martin, because they were seemingly finding pace, but they found the same sort of pace as the McLarens did. The McLarens are out already, so could we be seeing Aston Martins fall out in this session as well?
I hope not. I'd like to see Fernando Alonso in the top 10 as he makes some changes to his dash while he comes down that 1 kilometer straight in the first sector. He's got the purple time. He is the fastest and the first driver to put a lap time out on the board right now. Lance Stroll not matching that, though, through the first sector.
No, so Lance Stroll not managing to match his teammate just yet. And interesting to see that we've only got 4 drivers in the pits right now. Lewis Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, and Russell. So Mercedes once again opting to hold their drivers in a little bit later to send them out with more track evolution.
Kevin Magnussen has taken away that fastest first sector away from Fernando Alonso, yes. So we'll see what he can do throughout the rest of his lap as well.
The Haas's have been looking very quick, and I'm very impressed with how quick they've been. The biggest issue that we always have with Haas this whole season is that they can qualify well. Their race pace is so poor. So maybe it changes this weekend. I think there is something different about this weekend in terms of, what could affect the cars, and especially maybe Red Bull, and maybe this is why Ferrari's doing well. Funny enough, Cora brings the comment about in a bit more of a funny manner, but you're not actually far wrong. The interesting thing about this Grand Prix is a lot cooler than most.
Yes.
It's a lot cooler than most, and that seems to be somehow favoring Ferrari, as Cora says. Seeing that their car is working so well in colder weather, let's have a race in Antarctica. We might win. So I think that might actually genuinely be something that's favoring Ferrari right now. As Magnussen goes preliminarily into the fastest time, a 1:34.3. Very good start time for him in this session.
Yes, a good start time for the Haas's as Ayo Komatsu, the director of engineering at Haas, looks over at what his driver was able to do there with that fastest lap time provisionally for now. But I'm sure the Ferraris, who are currently out on track with Charles Leclerc setting the fastest middle sector, Sainz takes the fastest time now overall with a 1:34.1.
But Alonso gave up on his previous lap, started another push lap now, and he's already got a purple sector in sector 1. So here comes Fernando Alonso. Could he beat Sainz's time? Could he move into the 1:33s himself?
Charles Leclerc is about to finish up his lap time now. He's got the fastest middle sector. He does now go fastest with a 1:33.966.
Yes, so into the 1:33s, but I'm sure we'll find a lot more pace from those Ferraris as the session goes on. Gasly gets a 1:42.8. Of course, it means that he gave up on his lap. So we've only had 3 proper laps as Perez now goes quickest into the 1:33s, a 1:33.965, literally 0.001 seconds quicker than Charles Leclerc.
But we're finally seeing the Red Bulls have more pace than the Ferraris for once.
Yeah, so the Red Bulls are ahead of the Ferraris in a very similar circumstance. So maybe the Red Bulls were just holding back ever so slightly in Q1, now starting to shut this stuff. Alonso, he's going around quite well. He's got a purple sector in sector 1, which still is yet to be beaten. Sector 2 is his personal best. Let's see what he does in sector 3. He comes towards the end of it, 1:33, 1:34. He moves fastest, a 1:33.880. Great from Fernando Alonso. So clearly there must be quite a bit more pace for those Ferraris and Red Bulls to find.
Great to see that Fernando Alonso is finding some good amounts of time in hand right now as Lance Stroll comes across the line only in 6th
and
place.
A poor time too, a 1:35.0.
1.120 slower than his teammate.
Yeah, so really needs to find a lot more pace there. Does Lance Stroll. He's pretty much in danger already because he's the slowest.
Sargent coming through the final sector, setting those mini sectors ablaze in the final sector. Where does he put himself now? He's coming across the final few corners. Yes, 6th. Good for Logan Sargent.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the third now, slowest time, but in terms of the actual times we've seen. But they're in thereabouts with most of the other times there, because it's 0.49 seconds behind Alonso, and Magnussen is 0.4 as well. Sainz is 0.26. Gasly now moves into 5th at 1:34.278. That's not too bad. He's not too far away from the 133s. But again, I think the 133s, you're pretty much safe for the session, or maybe at least should be closer to what you should be aiming for. Alex Albon goes to 134.26. I'm hoping to see these cars get a little bit quicker as we go around. I was hoping to see more 133s, but only right now we've got 3 drivers, Alonso, Perez, and Leclerc. The rest of them yet to do that.
Yes, just looking at the comment section, Lindy, we're saying Stroll has to go to see the stewards for failing to slow down for a double yellow again. He might have a double grid penalty for the race on Sunday.
Now, Charles Leclerc is now making his way out of the pits again to go and put another lap in. And I'm very keen to see what he can do now. Because
it's so close between the top 3, 0.086.
What you also don't know about the Ferraris in terms of their times, they were a little bit slower than Perez and Alonso now. Maybe they went out on old softs. Now they're coming out on the fresh ones.
Very, very possible.
So, drivers at risk right now. Ricciardo is at risk. The other 5 drivers in the relegation zone have yet to put in times, but they're all of them on their out laps, or at least finishing up their laps. Russell, Hülkenberg, Hamilton, Verstappen, and Bottas all currently out on track, getting ready to put some times in. They've chosen to waste about 5 minutes of the session before putting those times in, so they need to make sure that this lap is good, because they're only going to be able to do really 2 laps, essentially. So, lots to be banking on for those teams, Mercedes especially, with both drivers not coming out early. Daniel Ricciardo's into the pits, Stroll is into the pits, and so is Alonso. They'll come out a little bit later towards the end of the session to try and put in a quick lap, as the track has got the most possible.
Hamilton, though, he's down on P13.
He's not put a time in yet. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The 2 Mercedes have yet to put in times. They're only starting now. Hamilton puts in a time now, I think, or at least starts an out lap.
No, he puts in a time for
Starts.
P11.
No, he starts a lap now, because he's only 15 seconds down. So that was his out lap. I think he had a 1 round lap, and now he started his proper fast lap. Let's see what he can do. Russell, I think, is also starting his just behind Hamilton. Yes, he is just behind Hamilton there. So what will he do into Sector 1? We're coming up to that point now. Will he beat Alonso Sector 1 time? No. He is up 0.5 on Ricciardo, but not up on the rest of the grid. Right now, he puts himself only into 7th.
8th.
7th and 8th, yeah. So
no, it would be 8th or 9th right now.
Oh, he's up on Ricciardo, yeah.
He's half a second up on Ricciardo, yes.
Yeah, so that's true. So he'll be more or less in the middle of the field right now, but not as quick as we'd hope they would be if he's only that much quicker than Daniel Ricciardo, who is our slowest driver out in circuit. Russell following as well. He's putting in very similar sort of times. Not blitz are the Mercedes. I mean, Hamilton's 0.28 seconds slower than Alonso, so that puts him around 4th right now. So not the best time. I think people can definitely beat that still with 6 minutes remaining.
Yes, people could definitely beat that. That might put him, as you say, around 6th or 7th if he's 0.4 down. Max Verstappen coming through the second sector now. He's gone fastest overall. What can he do as he's finishing up his current lap? Just watching Hamilton finish up his current lap as well. He comes round the final corner. Now, where would he put his Mercedes, Mark?
I think 4th. No, he found they've got straight line speed of another level have Mercedes, because they were relatively slow in Sector 1 and 2, but Sector 3 was blitz between the two
made
of them.
Back everything in Sector 3. Max Verstappen comes across the line now with the fastest time of the day, 1:33.607, faster than Hamilton and Russell.
Yes, fastest time of the session, not actually of the day though.
Fastest time of the week.
Leclerc's time is still the quickest. He put a 1:33.2.
Sorry, that's true.
So Leclerc's still right out there, and he's currently putting his lap together. He's got a fastest sector in Sector 2. What will he do down the back straight here? Of course, he's going down that very long and will probably become famous Las Vegas Strip straight. And,
Las Vegas Boulevard straight, yes.
Well, yes, nonetheless, the strip. And he's coming into those final few corners, into that another straight, of course. I think he's going to put a really, really quick time, as Magnussen is up on Verstappen's time.
Very interesting to see that. But the Hasses are very fast in the first sector.
Leclerc
comes across the line 0.7 seconds faster than Verstappen. I did think the 132s would be possible here today.
132.8. Sainz comes across the line at 133.3. Blitz from the Ferraris, much quicker than Max Verstappen, who's 0.7 seconds down now, almost 0.8. Magnussen, though, let's see how he can fare, because he's going around really, really quickly. He was very close to Charles Leclerc's times, funny enough. So what can the Haas's do? Because if the Haas's get anywhere near the 132s, maybe the 131s are in play. A 133.6, he goes only just behind Max Verstappen, just behind him. So really not too bad.
By
0.06. 0.06 seconds behind. It's not too far away for a Haas compared to a Red Bull. Alex Albon right now also is currently at risk. He needs to go around a bit better. Bottas is up 0.2 seconds on Albon's time, so he should be moving a little bit ahead of him. Alonso's in 8th. Stroll's down in 13th. He's on an out lap right now, as is Daniel Ricciardo and Logan Sargent. Quite a few people. Of course, we're into the last 4 minutes of the session, so lots of drivers will be out on track, putting in some times.
I agree with Lindiwe, though, in the comment section, saying, interesting that Haas and Ferrari are similar in that their single lap speeds are fast, but come race day, their race pace falls away. Yes, that's because they struggle with tire degradation, but these cold temperatures this weekend could help them.
They could help them a lot. Bottas moves only into 10th, so he's not really that safe right now. He's at risk, so he needs to go around and cool down his tires and get back around for one more push lap before he can finish the session off, because he's not safe right now, I wouldn't think, with quite a few drivers still to go and do their laps. Just 3 minutes remaining. What will happen here? Who are our 5 drivers dropping out? I don't think the Williams will drop out. So watching a replay of Sergio Perez get just 2 centimeters away from the outer wall here, so getting very close to hitting that wall. Nobody's hit it yet, but people are getting very close to it.
Yes, people are starting to take more and more risks in pursuit of lap time here, as we see Sergio Perez make his way into the pits.
Now, Sergio Perez is into the pits. I'm hoping they're going to just change his tires, essentially.
No,
how long are they going to stay?
He's done for the second session.
If they think he's done for the second session, what could happen here? People go around quicker. Maybe they don't back the other drivers to beat his time, but his time wasn't that quick.
I think they can see where the dropout zone should be.
Well, 2.5 minutes left, or just less than that, and I think we're still waiting to see what will happen across the rest of the grid. Seems like not too much activity in the pits, so everyone's out on track, but I think they're all currently doing a cool-down lap before they push for one more. We're looking at lots of stunning visuals, of course, of the Paris section of Las Vegas, and there we can see cars coming down those straights. I don't think they're currently on fast laps, any of them. I don't think any of them are push laps. I think they're coming around.
Slow laps.
Otherwise, we would be following somebody. Because, yes, whilst Las Vegas is all very pretty, I'd rather be watching the Formula One. That's why we're here. So I think we're all gearing up. Of course, 2 minutes to go has been sounded a little while ago. So I think Charles Leclerc and Sainz will still be in first and second at the end of the session. I think the Ferraris are really, really quick. I mean, are we only going to see the low 132s, or could we even see a 131?
I think a 131 could be possible in Q3, but it's a lot of time for Leclerc to make up 0.8 seconds.
It's a lot of time. I think he really pushed that lap to put a good thunderous lap, and maybe just to practice for Q3 to say, this is what my real big push lap is. So now following here, I think this is Lance Stroll gearing up to start his lap, or is this Fernando Alonso? The other way, it's one of the Aston Martins. They're coming around the few bends here, and I think they're actually setting a time. Yeah, it is Lance Stroll. He's currently on his sector there. He's beaten his first sector. He's up on Bottas's time, which is, of course, the driver to beat in 10th. But I'm not sure he's going around too quickly, as he's chased by Lewis Hamilton behind him as well.
Yes, I'm wondering what Lance Stroll can do here today. His teammate's currently out of that bottom 5. But what can Lance Stroll do? I don't see him getting himself out.
Well, he's only 0.15 seconds up on Bottas, and I think the other drivers going around will go a little bit quicker than that. So he needs to find some more pace in this final sector. If he can, then he'll do himself a lot of favors, of course. Russell is already 0.5 seconds up on Leclerc. He makes up a lot of time in sector 3, but not
down on Leclerc.
Sorry, I meant down. And they make up a lot of time in sector 3, but I don't think he'll make up that much.
No.
Lance Stroll now coming into the final straight before going across the finish line. Where is he going to finish? In against the 130s now. I think he's only going to be just ahead of Bottas. Might be into the 133s.
34.
134.19, so it's not quick enough for me. I think he's
still in that drive at risk zone. We're waiting to see what Logan Sargent can do. He's about to come across the line in the next couple of seconds. Very, very interesting as George Russell moves himself now up into P3 ahead of Max Verstappen. Logan Sargent crosses the line up into P6 now.
I think he's into Q3.
He is. He's definitely into Q3. Perez is at risk, though.
Perez is very much at risk, and he's brought him into the pits. And I say he's very much at risk now. I said that not brought him in too early here. And Perez is the driver at risk in 10th position. Lance Stroll is out. We know this. What can Albon or Gasly do? If any of those two get quicker than Perez, then...
Or Hülkenberg.
Yeah, or Hülkenberg. So here comes Albon. The first one can do that. Albon forces Perez into the relegation zone. Perez is out.
And Hamilton. Hamilton's down in the dropout zone right now. Hamilton needs to finish up a lap.
I think Hamilton is finishing up a lap, but right now we can confirm 3 drivers are out. Lance Stroll, Ricciardo, and Perez all out of the session. Hülkenberg and Hamilton, I think, are still finishing up laps. What can they do? Leclerc is finished, of course, as well.
Even faster. 132.775 now to finish up that final lap. Yeah. Max Verstappen finishes up for himself as well. He stays in fifth he doesn't improve on his current
I
lap
think
time.
he might have given up.
Lewis Hamilton has given up on his lap by the looks of
Oh
things.
my word. Oh, is he? Yeah, he is. Lewis Hamilton's out. Yeah, it says he's knocked out. Lewis Hamilton is out of the session.
As he says on the radio, I couldn't go faster, mate. Very, very disappointing for himself, especially when his teammate, George Russell, is up in P3.
So the 5 eliminated drivers, huge names here in the elimination zone in Q2. Big news coming out of it. Ricciardo is out in 15th, unfortunately. Lance Stroll, 14th. Hulkenberg in 13th. Perez in 12th. Lewis Hamilton in 11th.
Very, very interesting to see Lewis Hamilton get relegated from the race here today. Certainly not expected at all.
And once again, Perez is out in Q2.
Yes.
Once again. Oh dear. So, Perez and Hamilton, of course, vying for that second place position in the Drivers' Championship. The Drivers' Championship. And Perez is starting behind Hamilton, both of them outside the points.
This could be very interesting for both of their charge for that second place in the Drivers' Championship.
I do have to wonder why Red Bull pulled Perez in there. It didn't make sense. As James says, you have to wonder about the strategy from Red Bull, because why?
They thought they were safe, but the evolution is just huge.
I mean, we saw Alex Albon move into 6th position right behind Max Verstappen. So I don't know how they managed to think that Perez would be fine.
Well, unfortunately, it didn't work out for them, and now Perez will be starting the race from P12 behind Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately. But just looking at the moment, the AlphaTauri moves into the pits as Nico Hulkenberg watches on and looks at some of the data. Yeah, a little bit upset, as James says, they can't really blame Perez. Should have been on the track when the track was at its best. He does look a little bit upset, but unfortunately, Red Bull decided to keep him in the pits, and that's his day over here in Quali 2. What can he do, though, in the race tomorrow? That is where it's all going to have to count. But he has a little bit of extra work to do, unfortunately. Rod Shepard saying, well, wonderful effort from Albon and Logan Sargent. They're certainly both having great days out there, with Logan Sargent putting himself up in P9 and Alex Albon up in P6.
Yeah, brilliant, of course, for those Williams drivers, both of them making it into Q3. And Lewis Hamilton, just watching a replay, maybe we can see why he didn't make it into Q3 himself. Does he just hit a curb a little bit too hard? Or maybe just have a little bit of a slide?
No, it looks composed through there. But Lindiwe says there in the comment section, the top 10 is full of outliers at the moment. This will make the race extra spicy because the lower teams are fighting for extra points, which equates to millions. Just watching a moment for Yuki Tsunoda there that caused the yellow flag at the end of Q1. He really was all out of sorts there in that T-Mobile zone.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's everywhere there. And I think just also struggled to get the car going a little bit there as well. I think he was just going a little bit into anti-stall. So looking at our top 10 drivers, just going through all of those in Q3. Bottas, obviously, it was the slowest time that made it into Q3, but we've got Logan Sargent there as well, and Magnussen. And we've just lost it there. So I'm going to go back here. Alonso's still there. Albon's still there. Verstappen's there. Gasly's up in 4th. He's been doing very well. His teammate Ocon was all the way down in 17th, of course. He got eliminated in Q1. So Gasly's up in 4th, which is very good to see from him. So what's the difference between the two of them? Why would Ocon be so far down?
Christian Horner, sorry, just watching a replay of Christian Horner reacting to Sergio Perez getting relegated out of Q2. He does not look impressed, but that is Red Bull's fault, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was about to say Red Bull. I don't even think Sergio Perez can be blamed too much for that, because I think he would have gone round again and probably gone quite quickly. And it's harsh to blame him for it because he was asked to come in. He said, no, you're safe, basically, is what Red Bull must have said to him. He said, no, you can come in. You don't need to go out again.
Max Verstappen stayed out.
Yeah, it's why would they take in Perez? Why? Or maybe Perez did make the decision himself to come in, but I doubt it because he doesn't have the data, of course. So he'd be told what to do. Bizarre from Red Bull. And both the actions of Adrian Newey and Christian Horner, they were not pleasing ones. They were very concerned and otherwise frustrated. And I think maybe at their decisions, as you've seen Casey Affleck, of course, very famous actor. He's there and smiling at the cameras as well.
I don't know.
You don't know Casey Affleck?
No, I don't.
My word. It's Ben Affleck's brother, of course.
Clearly not famous enough. I know Ben Affleck.
Well, he's been nominated for Oscars before as well. So nonetheless, Casey Affleck's there in the crowd. Good to see lots of big names throughout Las Vegas for this Grand Prix weekend. Of course, we don't want it to be all about the show. We want it to be about the sport. But at the same time, having a bigger show means more fans, means more money, means that the sport can continue. Hopefully, pumped more into making the sport itself better than just the show.
Yes, rather than just having a spectacle as we're having here in Vegas. Just waiting for this last qualifying session to get underway. Just watching the lights here in the Paris section of Las Vegas. Incredible views, of course, where that racetrack makes its way through. What can Carlos Sainz do on Sunday? He's going to get a 10-place grid penalty for an engine or energy store that they had to take a new unit for because of that massive incident yesterday with the drain hole cover that destroyed the floor of his car. I agree with you.
I enjoy Pure Blood's sarcasm there. Who is Ben Affleck and what is an Oscar? Yes, indeed. What is an Oscar? It's an Oscar Piastri, of course. The Oscar Piastri Award is given to all those who happen to meet his high standards of fame, who Oscar Piastri deems worthy. I'm just having a fat laugh, of course. So we're looking at the Williams garage, both of them doing very well in Q3. And Albon is the fastest in all the straights.
I'm not surprised. I expected the Williams to be very fast here this weekend. This is brilliant, though, to have both Williams in Q3. I don't think this is something we've had for a very, very long time.
Yeah, so what
Logan Sargent's is fourth fastest, by the way.
I know, so it just shows how quick that car is.
Yes.
So what can Logan Sargent do at his last attempt at a decent home Grand Prix? Because he will definitely be starting in the top 10, provided he doesn't do anything stupid and get a grid place penalty. He should be starting in the top 10. Where will he finish from that top 10 position? Because I don't know how good the race pace is of the Williams. Maybe they can fight it out. But Logan Sargent certainly doing himself a big favor here in terms of trying to finish quite well in the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's the first time we're here for all the drivers. Maybe this will become his track, his favorite track. I think it's one of his best performances so far. Let's see how he can do in Q3, of course, first. But doing very well so far this weekend.
Yes, doing very well as we're watching that massive Formula One logo above the Las Vegas pit straight, illuminating in all the neon lights in the Formula One logo. It looks great, and it's certainly going to be a new permanent building here in Las Vegas because Formula One have built that, costing them about $400 million. As we are getting the first cars out of the garages now.
I wonder how many races we'll also have during the year now as part of this track and the sort of track setup, or it'll just be Formula One? Because surely they might try and have some other formulas at least come here, and maybe they'll do some IndyCar racing or something.
I don't know. I think Formula One will, of course, own the pit building, so if anyone else wants to use it, they will charge a massive premium for that, I'm sure.
But you'd want to, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you can make as much money during the year, because otherwise you're sitting there gathering dust for most of the year for just one weekend a year. So I'm intrigued to see how many more races we'll have in Las Vegas as a result. But the Haas of Kevin Magnussen is leading us out into Q3. We've got already less than 11 minutes left. Of course, the session is 12 minutes long in total length, and Magnussen's leading us out, followed by Fernando Alonso.
Our previous pole positions taken in Las Vegas at the I'm trying to remember what it was called, the Caesars Palace Grand Prix, was taken by Prost in 1981, and then I think it was
I saw
the second name, but it was Newman or something like that in 82. So who will take the next one this year? At the moment, Charles Leclerc is looking very much poised to take that.
Charles Leclerc is looking in an exceptional position to take it. He's very quick through the corners, I think, is where he's making up a lot of his time. He's still very quick in the straights as well, but mainly in the corners is where he's making up a lot of time. Because we can see, obviously, yesterday we had a comparison of him to Verstappen. Braking later, going through the corners later, as well as coming out of it in a quicker pace. So
going through the corners quicker, not later.
I was saying braking later.
Yes, you said going through the corners later.
Yes, but then obviously going through the corners a lot quicker than Max Verstappen. So clearly it looks like the Ferraris are making up pace there. Looking at Fernando Alonso's qualifying form of late, not been very good until Brazil, where of course he finished in 4th position for qualifying, and he finished in 4th in the race. No, 3rd in the 4th. 4th in the race. No, 3rd. What am I talking about? Fernando Alonso, he finished 3rd in Brazil. He finished 3rd, yes. Yeah. He was on the podium, of course. Fernando Alonso, speaking of, is starting his hot lap now. Let's see what he can do. He's been doing all right today. I think the Aston Martin's struggling a little bit compared to some of the other constructors in terms of pace, but Fernando Alonso's getting every little second out of it as possible, so giving himself the best chance he can do. And he's being followed by the 2 Ferrari, so I think that's going to be a bit of a scare, because those 2 are certainly going to be trying to use him for a bit of...
They're very far behind him, so they won't even be getting a slipstream, to be very honest.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll have Fernando Alonso setting times, but Sainz is beating it, and I think Sainz's time's just been beaten by Charles Leclerc. it's been today's story, basically. Sainz ahead of Leclerc. Sainz puts in the purple sector. Leclerc goes even faster.
Well, Sainz does have that grid penalty, so you may as well have Leclerc take that top spot. As Lindy West says, apparently Perez blocked Lando Norris during Q1. Perez might get a penalty. Interesting.
Well, if he's already getting a penalty down in P12, that could be a disaster race for him. And maybe Hamilton can try and do something in the race and somehow finish right up near the top to try and take that second place in the Drivers' Championship. It's very unlikely, though. Fernando Alonso is going along relatively well, but Sainz and Leclerc behind him are doing very well. Leclerc didn't beat Sainz's middle sector time. Very interesting as well.
Yes, it is rather interesting that Charles Leclerc has not been able to beat that middle sector time of Carlos Sainz. I wonder who has it at the moment. Just going to have a look on our timing boards. It is Verstappen who has the fastest middle sector right now.
So Gasly's now moved into first. Now Alonso moves into first at 133.5. Then Sainz at 133.0. Here comes Leclerc. How close can he get to the 132s? I'm sure he might be into the 132s. And he comes into
133.021. So close. Where does Verstappen go now? He's coming through the final sector as well. All of these drivers really close to each other. Max Verstappen coming around the final corner now. He comes across line only in third, 133.1.
Still slower than both the Ferraris. Now, the interesting thing is here...
Slower, but 0.083.
Now, Ferrari have a decision to make here. Because Sainz has been leading Leclerc the whole time in terms of trying to get him further up. Now, both of them are finishing ahead of anybody else. They're first and second in every single session, basically. Do Ferrari risk putting Leclerc in front and giving Sainz a bit of a toe? Because
why?
If Leclerc finishes second, he'll start on pole anyway, and Sainz will start then in 10th instead of 11th, which is ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
Okay.
So decisions need to be made, I think, because Sainz can still do very well here if the car's got pace in the race. They just need to try and make sure he starts as high up as possible. You don't want him fighting with big names. You want him fighting with the small names, because looking at the smaller names there, you've got Bottas, Sargent, Albon, Magnussen, Gasly in the mix, so you can get ahead of them quite quickly. If both Ferraris are definitely going to be quicker, maybe have Leclerc give Sainz the tug and then hope that both of them are quick enough to go around faster. So looking, of course, here, we've got less than 6.5 minutes remaining of Q3. All the drivers going around. Everybody's on track, except for Albon, Sargent, and Bottas who are in the pits. Yet to put in times those bunch as well. So I think they're only going to have one attempt, and then we'll see what times can get put in by all the teams. So Charles Leclerc, Sainz, Verstappen, Alonso, Gasly have put in decent times. Magnussen, not the best time for himself. He's in the pits. Russell is now starting a hot lap.
I'm not surprised to see Albon, Sargent, and Bottas staying in the pits. They're going to wait out for the last possible moment to get out onto track. Russell making his way through the circuit at the moment, looking a little bit twitchy through some of those higher speed technical sectors, but now coming down that 1 kilometer long straight.
Yeah, I mean, the car's been quite quick for him, not for Hamilton, but he's been doing quite well with it. And we'd said, actually, funny enough, and you said especially, that in FP3 yesterday, Hamilton wasn't finding a lot of pace compared to Russell.
But in FP2, Hamilton had the upper hand over Russell. So very interesting to see that momentum has switched hands between the two Mercedes drivers.
Yeah, so Russell clearly enjoying the car a lot more than Hamilton is right now. Russell did very well in FP3 and is doing well. He's in Q3 right now, whereas Hamilton is not. He's got a green sector in Sector 1, but he's quite far off of Leclerc's time already. So not sure where he's going to finish. Probably fourth, I think, ahead of Alonso. Maybe that might be what he's aiming for, but he's not getting ahead of Verstappen, Leclerc, or Sainz.
Well, I'm going to wait and see what he can do at the end of this Las Vegas strip, because this is where the Mercedes are able to claw back that time. They are extremely fast down the main straight. That car just looks so poised as it heads down that Las Vegas strip now, making its way towards turn 14 and 15, that quick chicane, before they make their way through the final 3 corners of the track.
Yeah, so George Russell handles that very well, makes sure he stays clear of any sort of damage and hits the lines, nails the lines, really. So this could be quite a quick time. I don't think he's going to compete with the top 3, but he certainly should be quicker than Alonso, who's in 4th. He comes across the line now, and yeah, indeed, he moves behind Alonso. So actually slowed down a little bit in Sector 3 there. So Alonso holding on to 4th right now. Not too bad for him.
He's second in the speed trap at the moment with 348 kilometers an hour being that lap time. Watching a replay from Max Verstappen. Does he hit the wall? No, he doesn't. He gets very close. He even comes onto the radio and goes, beep, that was close.
I'll say, Verstappen noticing how close he got to that wall there. Could have been the end of a session, and that would have been a disaster for him. We've got 4 minutes remaining. Everybody's in the pits. A couple of cars have now made their way out, and well, I say everyone's in the pits. Nobody's actually wanted to stay in the pits. Everybody's making their way out of the pits is rather what I was going to say. And let's see what Charles Leclerc can do. There's lots of people around this car getting ready to send them out. I really hope to see a blitz time. Could we see a low 132, borderline a 131? I don't know how quick they'll be. They'll be on brand new softs for this last round.
They need to get into the 132s first. They still barely being able to break into the 132s just yet.
Yeah, so whole second to make up, I suppose, is a bit much.
Yes.
But the low 132s could be on offer because we definitely saw 132.7.
You mean a 132 is possible? Oh, low 132.
Low
sorry,
132, yeah. Sorry. Definitely the 132s are definitely possible. We've seen it already. Is this traffic?
No, we haven't seen the 132s. We've seen 30.
No, we've definitely seen the 132s. 132.7 was put in by Charles Leclerc last time, Martin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're into the 132s already in this whole session, but in Q3 we've yet to get there. We're on the 133.0s, but Charles Leclerc, Sainz, and surely Verstappen as well should get into there as well. Verstappen's the last one to leave the pits, so he's going to be potentially the last one to cross the line to start his hot lap. So it'll all be eyes on him in terms of whether he can.
time is 133.0
this session, yeah.
Did he?
100%.
No, he didn't. It was 133.7 previous session.
132.775, definitely. So we've got less than 3 minutes left of the session. Carlos Sainz has had 5 career poles. He's not going to get pole today, of course. He's going to have that grid penalty, but he could, of course, out-qualify his teammate. Don't think he's going to be able to. They don't seem to be helping each other out this time. So Charles Leclerc is on his own, and so is Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz starting his lap time now.
Sometimes that's actually preferable because you don't want the dirty air of a car in front of you. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do without the tow from his teammate, Carlos Sainz.
Well, he's going to approach Sector 1's time now. He previously put in a 26.079. What's he going to do this time around? Actually looks a little bit slower.
Yeah.
He's gone very slowly.
1.8 seconds slower.
He's given up already.
Yeah, I would expect him to back off.
Yeah, he has backed off. He's backed off a lot. Yes, Sainz. I think he's made a mistake into turn 1. Maybe didn't hit the apex quite correctly, and he's not feeling good about the car. So he's just going to go again around, which is not ideal because it means those fresh tires are now a little bit ruined in those couple of opening corners. So he'll have to go around one more time. But Charles Leclerc is coming around the final straight to start off his last fast lap as we enter the final 2 minutes of the session.
Yes, into the final moments of this qualifying 3 session here today. Who will take that top spot as we have John Boyega, the Star Wars actor, in the Aston Martin pits here today. Verstappen's on an out lap. What can he do in retaliation to the Ferraris? He's really close. He's within 0.08 seconds of them right now. Will he be able to get close enough, though?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to get close enough to the top 3. I think 4th might be a position he can aim for. I don't think he can see the top 3. I think he's way too far away. Not Verstappen, sorry. I was talking about Alonso. I read a comment and I must have heard that. Sorry, but Verstappen, I think, well, he's going to be the last car out, of course. So he's going to be following them. He's going to be the one that has to beat the time. So he's not setting it. So he knows what he has to beat at least.
Yes, very interesting to see here that Johan Weber says Alonso is getting into striking range for 3rd position in the Drivers' Championship against Hamilton if he can hang on to his position in this Grand Prix. It's all going to be very interesting coming into Abu Dhabi, the final race of the season. Leclerc, not faster through his first sector at the moment. This could work well into the hands of Max Verstappen.
But I'll say, although look at Charles Leclerc's 2nd sector time, he's up 0.3 seconds pretty much on his original best time this session. So blitzing the 2nd sector, and we know they can be very quick in sector 3 as well. So what can he do? Is Max Verstappen is also now starting his hot lap, and we're going to compare the two of them to each other. Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen slow in sector 1. He's slower than his best time. What would he do in sector 2? 57 it was Charles Leclerc's time. Verstappen is very far down in Leclerc's best time already. Verstappen's not beating Leclerc. Verstappen will not be on pole because Leclerc's time is so much quicker already, and he's going to put in an even quicker time. He comes across the line at 1:32.726, the fastest time of the day and this weekend.
Yes, what can Carlos Sainz now do in retaliation? I don't think he's going to be able to beat that. He's 0.053 down on Leclerc in the middle sector. Will he be able to claw that back in the final sector? Max Verstappen, though, 0.3 down on the current lap time by Charles Leclerc. I don't think he's going to be able to beat that either.
No, Verstappen's not only going to start in 3rd at this rate. Sainz, though, can he beat his teammate? It'll actually be preferable if he can, because then he will start in 10th and his teammate will still start in 1st. So I'm hoping to see Sainz actually beat Leclerc here. Right at the end, out of nowhere, Sainz has been behind Leclerc the entire weekend.
Verstappen comes into the pits.
Yeah, Verstappen gave up on his lap. He knew he wasn't quick enough. He wasn't improving on. Russell's doing quite well, though. Sainz goes across only just behind Leclerc. 0.044 seconds behind. Sargent moves into 4th. Brilliant from him, a 133.5.
Where can Russell go? Will Russell put himself ahead of Max Verstappen in P3? He comes through the last corner now, just behind Max Verstappen in P4. Very, very close there.
And Albon comes across in 5th position there. So Alonso's dropping all the way down into 10th as Gasly moves into 5th. Brilliant from him as well. So here is our final grid order, ladies and gentlemen. We've finished Q3 from the top to the bottom. Charles Leclerc finishes on pole for Ferrari. Sainz is in 2nd, but he will have a 10th-place grid penalty. But very good from the Ferraris there. Verstappen in 3rd, Russell 4th, Gasly 5th, Albon 6th, Sargent 7th, Bottas 8th, Magnussen 9th, and Alonso in 10th.
Then to go through the bottom 10, we have Lewis Hamilton in 11th, Perez in 12th, Hülkenberg in 13th, Stroll in 14th, Ricciardo 15th, Norris 16th, Ocon 17th, Zhou Guanyu 18th, Piastri 19th, and Yuki Tsunoda in that last position down in P20.
A brilliant session there for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc finishes on pole again. He's been looking very good this weekend. I'm keen to see what he can do in the race. Race pace is going to be important. Problem is he's going to have Verstappen start right alongside him as Sainz is not going to be a buffer. He's going to be all the way down in 11th position. So we'll see what happens with Ferrari for Sainz, but Leclerc has a chance at a race win.
Yes, Leclerc takes provisional, well, not provisional pole, he takes pole ahead of this first Las Vegas Grand Prix. It's going to be very interesting to see what the race will be like tomorrow. So do be sure to join us for all of that, and be sure to check out all of our channel partners in the description. Our partner, BITDEFENDER, the global leader in cybersecurity, as well as BOYLESPORTS, who have a special for this race weekend in Las Vegas. For every 50 Rand that you put down on their website, you will get 20 free spins. So be sure to go and check out our channel partners down in the description below.
Indeed, 100%. Thank you guys so much for watching. Myself, Mark, and Reece alongside me. We will see you right now in a review, which we're going to do on the other channel. So don't go anywhere. You're going to be pulled across into that. And if you want to go and give us your thoughts, go and look for that video as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.